That's how you do it. Would you look at that? All right. All right, all right, all right. Hello, folks. How's it going? I'm going to wait just about 2 minutes before we start this out. Just let people sort of fill in. So I'm going to noodle around on this guitar. But what we're going to be doing in this little live stream is building ourselves a Notion note-taking system. So once people get themselves into the chat, and we have a few people, I want to give a couple of minutes for people to sort of filter in. We're going to start that. So yeah. I recently got a classical guitar, and I have fallen in love. It just has this beautiful sound and play feel to it. It was also very well loved from the people at Guitar Center demoing it. So my high D string is just in tatters. And depending on which, yeah, that doesn't sound too good. So I try to avoid that fret as much as I can. Ugh. I will put this away. I sat here with the guitar to prove to you that it's not green screen. It's a real set. All right. I'm going to give it about 1 more minute and then we're going to get started. Again, we're going to be building a whole note-taking system from scratch in this stream. Yeah, this is my first stream in a very long time. So I'm kind of like relearning everything from scratch. Let me know in the chat if there's anything that seems wrong. Ben says less Notion, more guitar, and that does seem like a good thing. That would be a good career pivot for me, I think. As if I could make money with it. I don't actually want to do that. Yeah, so a couple of people had asked, is there going to be a replay for this? There will be a replay for this. So my sort of kind of idea here is, and I guess I should shut that down. My idea here is I'm going to do this as a practice run for a tutorial video that I would normally do. Now, the tutorial video would probably be around an hour long. This one could be, I don't know, 2-3 hours. We'll see how long it goes. I'm going to go slower. I'm going to answer questions. So this is going to be almost like Notion 101 class. We're going to build a note-taking system together from scratch. I'm going to give you an overview of what it'll look like first. And then I'll take questions from the chat. I'm going to do my best to, put on a good show, build this thing, but also keep my eye on the chat. And so I can answer questions. One question I see already, will this be useful if I already have Ultimate Brain? Let me just switch over in case people don't know about this. So I have a premium template that I sell called Ultimate Brain. And the note-taking system that we're going to be building in this stream is basically a light version of the one that's already in Ultimate Brain. So if you have Ultimate Brain, you already have this note-taking system. In fact, you have the best possible version of it. There is a brand new version of Ultimate Brain that just went live a couple of days ago. If you are in our Circle community, you can go to the same place where you originally got your template and you can get the new version. We're working on transfer guides and all kinds of stuff. What we're going to build in this stream is a new template called Ultimate Notes. And this is, again, basically the note-taking system that is in Ultimate Brain. A few of the advanced features are left out, like the daily journal, the recipe book, the book notes tracker, that kind of thing. But what we do have is an inbox view. We have a favorites area for quickly accessing all of your favorite notes. We have a recents area that is going to show you all of your notes by their recent updated date. And we are also going to get a tag section so you can start to organize your notes. And we'll also have a little note board down here so you can easily drag your notes from a no tag area, like an inbox area, to your actual tags. So yeah, I think that's probably about enough time to stall. So I'm going to get rid of the little starting soon here and switch back to the big camera here. So yeah, welcome to Notion School. Somebody says they see Flyletter in my little browser there. And yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit, maybe even demo it a little bit in this stream. But yes, welcome to Notion School. I'm your professor, Thomas. And in this video, we're going to be building a full-fledged note-taking system in Notion. This is also going to serve as basically a Notion crash course for 2023, late 2023. We're going to be building a note system with a lot of Notion's new features. You're going to get to see a full build from scratch in Notion as it is now. So some of my older videos, there's missing UI things that have come out since then. We're going to see everything as it is now today in Notion. So you're going to get to learn about databases. You're going to get to learn about page layouts, linking, a ton of core concepts that are going to be super handy for you if you start to build your own templates, or maybe you're working with a team or a company and you're building out like a whole system for your team. A lot of these same concepts we're going to use for this note-taking system are going to be extremely valuable for you as a Notion builder in general. So I'm going to switch back over to my little face cam here, and we're just going to start going over what Ultimate Notes is and what we're going to be building here. So Ultimate Notes is the latest iteration of my full-fledged note-taking system, my goal to create one in Notion that I have been pursuing since 2018. I think it is a pretty darn good iteration and realization of that goal. And so what we have here is a dashboard that is going to give you access to all of the sort of areas for notes that you would have in traditional note-taking software. So if you're coming from Evernote, or if you're coming from Apple Notes or Bear, some of this is going to feel quite familiar. What I think is really useful is you get a lot of these same elements on a single page, and then we're also going to create individual pages for those elements. So we have an inbox here. This is a great place to dump notes. We have plenty of ways for actually capturing notes that we'll go over in this stream. The most traditional and simple one is just simply creating a brand new note right there, or hitting the button and typing out a note, maybe a lecture note, that kind of thing. We have, an ability to capture web clips. We are working on a full Notion web clipper called Flylighter, which will be able to help you easily capture stuff from the web, highlights, articles you run across, all kinds of stuff. That goes to a separate web clips tab. It keeps things nice and separate from your actual notes. I've got a whole automation for taking voice notes on your phone, recording your voice, getting it transcribed and summarized with AI, sending that to Notion. So we've been working a lot on capture methods, and the inbox is a great place to capture basically anything when you're on the go and you don't have time to categorize it. We have a favorites area. You can easily just check a little favorites box just like that. And I just remembered I have a little thing called Cursor Pro that puts a little circle around my mouse. So I'm going to enable that. I'm also going to enable my Keystroke Pro extension here. So that is going to show you, if I do like a cool little keyboard shortcut, it'll actually show you on screen, which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you were to click that little favorite button right there, you'd add a note to your favorites area. This is a great way to just curate the stuff that you access most often. We have a recents area. This is probably my favorite. This just sorts all of your notes across your entire workspace, and it shows them sorted by your last updated date. So the stuff you've been working on recently across all categories, all tags, everything you're going to see here. And then we have tags, which are basically like folders. Now in Ultimate Brain, we use the term resources. This comes from Tiago Forte's Building a Second Brain course, which has this PARA method. It stands for projects, areas, resources, and archives. And basically, we're just using the term tags here because Ultimate Notes is a standalone note-taking system that doesn't include projects, doesn't include the big area concept. So we're just using the term tags, which is synonymous for resources, and both essentially function like a folder where you categorize notes based on your interests. So I might have a like a SaaS folder for software as a service stuff that I'm highlighting from the web, or notes that I'm taking about Flylighter and like our marketing strategy, that kind of thing. I might have a gardening tag for stuff about gardening, that kind of thing. And then we have a little note board down here. I'll show this more in depth as we're building the system, because right now it doesn't look super useful. We just have one little board here. But as we start adding tags to our system, we're going to see those tags coming in here, or we can add them, and then we'll be able to easily just drag our notes. So this is another way you can easily process your inbox, just dragging notes around to different category columns, and you'll be good to go. Another little bit of overview is, like I said earlier, each one of these pages is an individual view as well. And we do this with our templates because when you're on mobile, going to a big dashboard page like this, especially when you have a ton of content, can be overwhelming. it can sometimes cause things to load a little bit slower. So if you're on mobile and you're like, I just want to see my favorites, instead of coming to a huge dashboard page like this, you could come to this standalone page that just shows you your favorites. And iOS, Android, they both have Notion widgets you can add to your home screen. So that's a great way to just have like an instant access to a specific page you want. And that's where we're going to build that in there. We're also going to build that in there because it will teach you how to build multi-page setups and then link between them, which I think is an essential skill for when you're building Notion setups for yourself or your team or your company or whatever. A couple of questions before we start the actual build process. I see here, let's see here. How's this Notion dashboard is connected to Para system from Tiago. So like I said, if you want that fully connected Para experience, Ultimate Brain is the template to get. That's over at thomasjfrank.com/brain. Maybe somebody can pop that into the chat. Actually, Marissa's already got it. Marissa is an absolute superstar. She can basically predict what I'm going to say. So yeah, if you want that fully integrated with the Para system, there's two different options actually. You can buy Ultimate Brain. We've done it for you. Or I have a whole second Brain Para build guide. That's about an hour. You can basically take the concepts from that build guide and then start fleshing out the note-taking system using everything we're going to go over in this stream. And you can basically build it yourself. So that's kind of one of my philosophies here. Thomas Frank Explains, these streams, all of the long form videos, they're all meant to help you learn everything you need to know to build this stuff yourself if you don't want to buy it. What we sell is shortcuts and done for you solutions. Okay, and yeah, so, and one person also asked if I already have Ultimate Brain. There's a brand new version of Ultimate Brain that has all the changes from this and a ton of new design upgrades. So you can log right back into our Circle community. We have a that post where you just went to the Start Here area that has new videos. We're working on brand new upgrade guides. All kinds of stuff is coming out. So super exciting time, a bit of a stressful time. We've spent like 2 full weeks upgrading the templates. And now we have like another probably 2 weeks of work ahead of us for reshooting all the videos and course materials and everything. So lots of cool stuff. And for people who are asking how do we get to the Circle community, if you have bought any of our templates, so Ultimate Brain or Creator's Companion, you will have received an email link to join that community. And the URL is just community.thomasjfrank.com. So cool. All right. One more thing I'm going to show off before we actually start the build process here. We have this cool little quick links bar, and this gives you quick access to a couple of important pages. But if you open this toggle, you also have access to all of the pages in the template. And here in the Ultimate Notes homepage area, these are actually the links to the individual pages. If we go to a specific page, we see something very similar, but now these are links that are kind of like they're linking out to those existing pages instead of literally being the pages. So I'm going to show you how to build both of those. And somebody's asking which bear is best. I think I'm supposed to say Bears beats Battlestar, Star Wars, Star Trek, Spaceballs. I don't know. We combed the desert. So yeah, we're going to start this build process now. Once again, as a reminder, there will be a full replay of this. So if you miss it or you want to go back and you want to reference stuff later on, we're going to have that full replay for you. I'm recording this right now. YouTube should also record this stream, so we'll be good to go. All right, so we are going to start, again, literally from a completely blank page here. And I'm just going to give this the title Ultimate Notes. You can call it whatever you want, but what I would recommend doing, no matter what you're going to call it, is going up to the little 3-dot menu here and opening or tackling that full width option right there. That is going to give you this nice full width database or dashboard page sort of layout here. And that's also going to allow us to make these nice big multi-column rows, which is pretty nice. Cool. Also, question for the chat, is it Berenstain Bears or is it Berenstein Bears? Did we go to a different dimension or not? I'm not sure. Okay, we can also add a cover. I made a custom cover for Ultimate Notes here, but you can easily go up to the change cover button here. You can go to the unsplash, and I don't know, let's just go with this wood paneling for now. That's nice and earthy and kind of makes me feel calm and ready to sit for 3 hours and build Notion stuff with you guys. So I'm going to go with that for now. And I want to give it an icon too. Now, one thing you might not have noticed if you haven't used Notion in a while is we now have this little icons tab right here. And this is a completely custom set of icons that Notion had developed. And you can also change the color of all of them. So I'm just going to go with this little note icon here. One thing I don't like is how there's kind of like this, transparent area in the icon that sort of clashes with this. But for now, I think this is going to be fine. And we could change our backgrounds to better suit that later on. Okay, so we are going to now start actually building the layout. And I'm going to do this sort of on the fly. I'm going to test my teaching skills here. I'm going to do this by trying to move through the stages of complexity when it comes to Notion's different tools. So what we're going to end up with by the end of this stream is this exact layout here. There are some advanced things in this layout, so we're going to be referring to this, but I'm going to start out by making things much, much simpler. And by doing that, I'm hoping that you can sort of gauge your current needs with Notion, and you will be able to say like, okay, well, this simpler layout is good for me. I'm just gonna take that and run with it. Or let's keep going. Let's push into the more advanced territory and get some of the additional benefits that brings. So if you are brand new to Notion, let me show you how to take notes. In fact, let me turn off full width here and let me show you how to take notes. / command page. There's a note. And I don't know, I'll just use AI, write a note about butterflies. I think I spelled butterflies wrong. But yeah, there we go. There's a note. I'll even give it a title. And now in your Ultimate Notes dashboard, you have a note there. You could add another one, just the same. And if you wanted to sort those notes, you could easily do it by dragging from this little 6-dot menu right here. And that's a sort. So if you wanted to keep things as simple as possible, that is how you would start. The only problem there is if I want to sort by, let's say, the last time I updated these notes, there's no way to do that here. This is literally just a page with what are called blocks. In Notion, pages are blocks, just like basically everything else, and I can drag them around and manually order them. If I want to do any kind of fancier sorting, if I want to sort by tag or filter by tag, if I want to sort by the last time I updated something, then I want to use what's called a database. So I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to make myself a database instead. The way I can do that is typing the / command, and then I can choose database. We have inline, we have full page. These are functionally equivalent. The only difference is if I choose inline, it's going to put that database directly on the page. If I were to choose page, it would literally create a page just like we did earlier, but that page would be a database. And if you change your mind later on, you made an inline database on a page here, you want it to become a page, click that little 6-dot menu, go to turn into page. There you go. So we're going to call this database all notes. I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice little icon here. Let's see here. I think actually the little pencil square icon is a perfect icon for an all notes database. And now let me go ahead and add what's called a property here. I'm going to find a property called created, or let's do last edited time actually, because last edited time will actually function as created time until you edit a note afterwards. So if I add a note here, let's just call it note 4. Let's give these different titles as well. Note 1, 2, 3. You'll start to see, well, it's note 23. That's actually fine. That actually suits our purposes here. You'll start to see what we can start doing with databases. I need to wait 1 minute so I can edit one of these rows and give it a different time because Notion uses minutes and they don't go into seconds. But if I were to add sorting criteria just like this, I could sort by last edited time. I could change that to descending or ascending. So I'm going to choose descending here. And you'll notice actually, yeah, that note order switched there. So this is super duper useful for building note-taking systems, for building task managers, for building CRMs where you're tracking interactions with different clients or prospects if you're a salesperson, things like that. It's very, very nice to be able to sort by when's the last time I edited this particular page with an actual note, or I changed a property by checking it as done, or I had lunch with this prospect. Let me add that to my journal inside this page. Sorting like that is super duper useful. So let's go back to Ultimate Notes here. We now have a database called All Notes on the page. I'm going to ignore that for a second because, again, we're trying to keep this simple and we are trying to gradually work our way through our levels of complexity as we build things here. So another thing that we can do is create multi-column layouts. And if you will look at our Ultimate Notes page here, you will notice that is exactly what we have. We have a 2-column layout. And I'm doing a little bit of a trick here because you might think that this is one column, this is one column, but in fact, what we have here are rows, and then we have multiple columns inside of our rows. And there's a cool little trick I'll show you for accomplishing that in the future. Now, there's not a huge, really important reason to do that, but when I'm on mobile, all of this gets squished down to one column, and I want to see my favorites before my recents. So that's why I use that trick, because it'll go, this will go here, this will go here. So yeah. And I'm checking the chat one little quick second here. People seem to be talking about Berenstain Bears, so I think we're absolutely good on questions for now. So to create a two-column layout, first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and set this back to full width. You can do two-column layouts without full width, but I like using full width usually. And if you do /2c, that's going to create two columns. Now I can click here and here. You can do /3c, /4c, even 5c if you wanted to do a 5-column layout. I don't know why you would want to do that. It would get really squished down on smaller monitors, but you can totally do that. Yeah. So a couple of questions here before we move on. One person said, is this recorded and available letter? Yes, it is. And can you embed a web page in a note? You absolutely can. It really depends on the website you're trying to embed. Some websites embed perfectly. Some websites just don't work well as embeds because you often need to be in a browser, logged in with a session token, that kind of thing. So now that I have two different columns here, I'm going to start building out my actual notes dashboard layout. So if I do /1, that'll get me a heading 1. And I'm going to say, this is my inbox area. Over here, I'm going to do /1, and I'm going to make that my favorites area. And now if I were to enter down from inbox, I'm still, so if I do --, I'll get a line here. You can see I'm still in this second column here. But again, I wanted to have sort of multiple rows with columns in them. So here's the trick you can do. Grab any block you want. I'm going to grab just this little dividing line, but it can be anything, and drag it until you see the blue line cover the entire width of the page. And I actually like to use dividers for this purpose so I can sort of visually see what I'm building as I'm doing it. I'll delete them later. But now I can hit the plus icon and I could do yet another 2C to get two columns. And here is where I can create my second row of two columns. So that's will be recents. This one will be tags. And then once again, I'm gonna do the same thing, bring this down to a full width block. And the last big heading on our data or our dashboard is going to be Noteboard. So now we sort of have the layout of what this is going to look like. I'm going to show you a couple of different things here. So if you were, say, running a team and you wanted to, instead of building like a full-on note-taking system, you wanted to simply like build a wiki for your team, then this is where you could start to do the thing we showed in the beginning of the stream, where we just create pages. And I'm going to call these random strings of text for now, just to sort of give you a layout and an idea of what this would look like. And here, like if you're running a team, you could just start creating pages under headings like this. So maybe this heading is actually like company onboarding information. This heading over here is marketing department. This heading over here is dev. This heading over here is content production. And then you just have articles, processes, checklists. Maybe you have like lists of external contents or contacts, things like that. That is yet another really simple and really powerful way to start using Notion, especially if you have a team. Just create a multi-column page like this, create some sections for different categories of articles, and start adding those articles there. Now, again, if you wanted to have that ability to sort, to filter, to do stuff like that, that's where databases come in, and that's where we're going to move on to right now. So here in the all notes area, you can see we have our rows, each of which is a note. I can open it and you can see this is another page inside of Notion. And we also have some properties. So the default property we have is tags. But if we go over to Ultimate Notes and we find our database, which is actually in the quick links here, we have this databases page and we will create this. And we have this notes database. You can see we have quite a few additional properties here. There's not a ton, but we do have some. We have a tag property. This is what's called a relation. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but that's what's essentially going to allow us to easily categorize our notes and then put them in these little tag pages that are super useful. We have a type property. This is what's called a select, or maybe even a multi-select actually. We have a URL for URLs to web clips and captures. We've got a couple of checkboxes, one for favoriting a note, one for archiving it, and then we have a created and last edited time. So we're going to start building these, and then we're going to be able to use those properties to do really useful things when designing our dashboard. And one person's asking, does Notion work better in a Mac? It lags with me sometimes. So I think that there is quite a few factors for Notion's performance. One of them is the hardware that you're on. Another one is definitely the connection that you're on. And then the other one is just like how good are things going on any given day at Notion? Most days I find the performance is pretty good. But sometimes, they have degraded performance. But yeah, like if it's looking really good for me and it's slower for you, then it might be a connection thing or possibly even a hardware thing. You could try it on the Mac app or the Windows app or the browser if you're using something else. So yeah, we're going to start adding some of those properties here. And the way you can easily add properties is by clicking this little plus icon right here. I'm going to add my checkbox properties first because they're in my head right now. So if we just search for checkbox, I'm going to call the first one favorite. And this will be a checkbox that we can check to add a note to our favorite section. And then I'm going to add one more, and that's going to be called archive. Not archive, archive. There we go. And when we check this one, it's going to take the note out of basically every view in the entire template. So outside of favorites, outside of recents, outside of tag pages, and it will send it purely to an archive area. So this is a concept from the para method for building a second brain. Again, you have projects, you have areas, you have resources, and then you have a useful archive. The whole concept of the archive is that you have an area where you can send stuff that's no longer relevant to your life. You don't want to see it in your inbox. You don't want to see it in tag pages. You don't want to see it in recents, but you don't want to delete it because it might come up later on. It might be relevant at some point in the future, right? So we're going to build an archive page, and we have this handy little archive checkbox right here, which we can use to send stuff to the archive and get it out of our hair. A couple of other properties. I'm going to add a created time property, and I don't even know if I need this. I can't even remember if I'm using it in the template anywhere, but I do like to create that property anytime that I make a new template. And somebody's asking what was the shift key. I think that was just me holding shift to capitalize checkbox, so nothing special there. Looking back at our database here, going back to notes, we also have that type multi-select, or maybe it's to select. We have URL, and then we have the relation. So we're going to create those now. URL is very easy. That's just a URL property, and I usually just leave it named URL. Totally fine, just like that. Type, I'm going to actually use this tags property that comes in by default. So I'm going to go ahead and rename it to type. And then if we edit it just like this, we can add additional options. So let's add lecture as one. Let's add voice note as one. We can use that for our AI-powered voice notes workflow that I'll talk about later on in the stream. Let's add book note, and you can add basically any of these. Later on, we are going to use these in the note tag or the note board area, and you'll see we have by tag as one of our views. We also have by type, and this is useful if you like to really categorize stuff. So if you're just like, I want to have all my book notes showing in one column, you could do that. All of my lecture notes in one column, you could easily do that kind of thing. So yeah. Going back to all notes, just checking on the chat real quick, and Marissa is taking care of it, which is awesome. We are now going to add a relation, but before we can do that, we actually have to make a second database, and that database is going to be for our tags. So going to Ultimate Notes, I'll show you exactly how this works. We have a tags database, and I'll just actually create a tag here. Let's just call this tag SAS. I'm building SAS, building Flylighter, got it on my brain. And when we open that up, we can see we have a whole additional page, and this is going to show us notes, favorites, and web clips that are all related to this tag. So actually, if I create one right here, let's just call it, SAS marketing observations, of which I've been taking a lot in the past few weeks. Now, if I go to this note, you can see that it actually has, I remember I put the tags here. It actually has this tag here. It's associated to this SAS page here in the tags database. And so if I'm on my recents, I can see that it's part of SAS. But if I go into my SAS page, now I can see that note right there. That is the power of having a couple of different databases and relating them together. One database can function as a list of tags to organize those notes. And then as you relate your notes to those tag pages, you're going to see them in here using a couple of tricks we're going to use later on in the stream. So we need to create ourselves another database. And the way we're going to do that is the same way we did it earlier. We're going to type /database. This time I'll go with full page just to show you how that works. Boom, bada boom. We'll call that tags. And I'm going to give that an icon as well. There is actually a tag icon. So I'm going to use that, of course. What do you think I'm going to use? A knife and a fork? And now we can go look at what actually is in our tags database in terms of properties. So let's see here. We have tags here. That wasn't the tags database. Oopsie poopsie. I'm going to go to databases and tags, and now we can see what's in there. So once again, we have archived and favorite. We can actually archive tags. I don't know why I have, I do know I have favorite tag in there. We have a favorites view. We'll talk about that later. We have a latest note property, which is actually a formula. So this one is going to be probably for the end of the stream, or maybe we'll just paste it and we'll do a whole other stream about Notion formulas because this is kind of a lot. We'll see. We'll see how the chat wants to do things as we go on. One person's asking, do we have to worry about normalization when making databases? I actually do not know what normalization is. So let me know in the chat what that is. And if you give me more context, I can find out, or I can just, I don't know, pull up ChatGPT on stream and figure it out later on. Yeah, we have a couple of formulas in here. I think we have 3. We'll worry about those a little bit later. And then we have our notes relation. So this is going to be the most important thing. Okay, so we have our tags database. The first thing we want to do is our relation property. I'm going to get rid of this tags property. It's a multi-select. We don't need it, but we do need a relation property. And the relation is going to be to all notes. And we have this option here, show on all notes. We do want to do that. Otherwise, it's not going to show that property on our notes database. And I'm just going to call that tag, and I will add that relation. So now we have this all notes relation property here, and I can click this and I can add this, this note 23 right here to this row. Let's just call this row SAS for now. And because we don't have anything set up, all we can see here is that note 23 is related to this page via this relation property. Later on, we'll add some of those additional linked database views, and we'll be able to actually see our notes on the page, but we actually have to create what's called a database template to do that. Okay, so I want to show you what this actually does to the all notes database. And if people have any questions about how this works, let me know. I want to know if there's like any big confusion around relations, because it is a concept that can take a bit of time to wrap your head around. But if we go back to our all notes database and we go all the way to the end, you can now see we have this tag property. This is a relation property that is automatically created in this database when we created the matching relation property in the tags database. And when we clicked that little button that said show on all notes, that's what generated this property here. So if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have this property here, but you can see that we want it because we want to be able to tag our notes. Here we have that SAS tag for this particular note. We want to be able to do that. So we have to do our dual direction relation. Okay, so we've got a lot of our structure going on. Let's go back to tags and let's add everything else that we're going to need except for our formulas. We can add those later on. So we do want an archive checkbox. So once again, we'll do checkbox and we'll call that archive. And we want our favorite checkbox as well. So we're going to do checkbox one more time. We're going to call that favorite. You know, you can call it whatever you want. Call it spaghetti if you want. I don't care. I'm not your dad, but I'm going to call it favorite. And I'm going to refer back because building a template from memory is not always the easiest thing. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. I think everything else is a formula. Latest note's a formula. Latest note date is a formula. Note count is a formula. So we will worry about those later on because that is going to basically allow you to do a couple of cool things on the dashboard. I think I can show you here. Yeah, so we have this little SAS tag here, and it says that there's one note there. We have... If we go in here, we have literally the latest note here and we can open it, which is a really cool thing, I think. That requires a pretty cool formula. And then there's the date as well, which I think has some sorting built in elsewhere. So we'll get to that later in the stream. For now, we need to start actually getting some database views on our notes dashboard. And one person saying, I could have sworn I watched this video before. We've done videos that have similar goals. Like the second brain para video was kind of similar to this, but this is a lot more in depth as far as building out a robust note system goes. That video built out a task system, project system, note system, but everything was very bare bones. And that was already an hour of content. So you can see, like, you know, thoroughly explaining this stuff can take a little bit of time. And that reminds me, I left my drink over there. I'll get it on a break. Okay, so now we have our databases. I think what I want to do is create a databases page to store these databases, just to keep things a bit more organized. So I'm going to create a page. And once again, I'm going to do command / to get rid of that sidebar, give us a bit more space to work with. And I'm going to do / page. And I'm going to call this databases. So this is just going to be our holding area for our databases. This keeps us a little bit more organized. There's actually a stacked disks icon that I think is perfect for database holding pages. And then we can just drag our database pages directly into databases. And there you go. That's all you need. Another thing that I like to do when I'm building Notion templates is if I'm building a dashboard page like this, I don't necessarily want to see if there are pages that link to this page. And if there's comments on this page, I don't want to see those either. So there is a useful thing we can do here. We can go up to the 3-dot menu and we can go to customize page. And it looks like I already have it for this page, but by default, your top level page discussions will be set to expanded and your backlinks will be set to expanded or shown in popover. So I set those to off and I set page comments to minimal on any sort of like dashboard page that's really supposed to function more like software UI than like a note where your team would be linking to it or having discussions with it. So yeah, a couple of questions before we go on. Do you have a connection between your notes and projects? That is in Ultimate Brain. If you want to see how that works, go watch the second Brain build guide video. Maybe Marissa could link that in the chat. Yeah, and do you have a free method of automating voice notes into the database? I do indeed. That's the latest video on TF Explains. It is not totally free because we do have to use AI's voice transcription or OpenAI's voice transcription services and summarization services. But setting it up and running it on Pipedream, totally free. And using the OpenAI stuff is incredibly cheap. Like I think it's 40 cents per hour of uploaded audio, which is kind of amazing. Cool. So the next thing we want to do is actually start creating some what are called linked database views under these sections here. Again, if we were just creating pages, they would be pages on this page acting as blocks. We couldn't sort them by last edited date. We couldn't easily filter them by the criteria we want. So we need to actually get some database views here. And I can show you what that looks like here on the example page. You can see here under inbox, we actually have a view. This is literally a view of our notes database. And if I go into the 3-dot menu here and I go to, I think it's layout, I can show the database title. And you can see that this is the notes database. Specifically, this is what's called a linked view of the database. And if I click here, it will take me directly to the database. And this is basically like another view of that database that has its own set of sort and filter criteria. And this is super duper powerful because what that means is you can have a whole database that holds all of your notes. And then you can have another view of that database somewhere else that shows you, say, only the notes that are in the inbox, meaning only the notes that haven't been tagged yet. Or you could have another view over here. It's like, these are only the notes that have been tagged as favorites. Everything else is not going to be showing. And if you think about the way that pretty much all software is designed, it's with this pattern in mind. There's a giant database on the back end. Think of like Apple Notes. There's a huge database of notes on the back end. But when you go into a folder in Apple Notes, it's basically just a query to that database saying, hey, get me all of the notes in the database where the category or folder field is filled with this value, like gardening, that kind of thing. But on the back end, it's not like there's a gardening database over there. It's a gigantic notes database that has everything. And then we're just doing filtered queries against it. So that is what we're going to do here. I want to get rid of this database title here. And I probably shouldn't mess too much with this because this is literally the live template version of Ultimate Notes. I should have mentioned that earlier. If you do want this for free and you don't want to build it yourself, it is on my website. I'll show you a little bit later where you can get it. But yeah, we've built it for you. You can use it for free. And then if you want all the project, task, all those extra integrations, you can buy Ultimate Brain if you want to. Cool. So let's start building those linked database views and getting the benefits of them. I'm going to delete these pages with all these hilarious titles here, and we're going to actually start creating some linked database views. The way you can do that is by typing / and then choosing a layout type. So if we actually scroll down, I think we can find them all. Here it is. Yep, database. So we have table view, board view, gallery view, list view, calendar, and timeline. And basically, these are going to allow you to choose an existing source database once you click them. And that's going to create what's called a linked view of that source database. So I'm going to go with list views. I think list views are currently the best type of view for a note-taking application. So boom, there you go. And you can see I can now select my data source. So I want my data source to be all notes. Now I'm going to click new empty view so I don't copy that existing view from the database itself. And that's going to give me my nice little list. I will not show the database title. I do want my pages to open inside Peak, and I'm going to call that good. I think I am going to actually rename this though to notes because later on we're going to create a separate tab in this view specifically for web clips. So we now have all of our notes showing here. This is basically an identical view of the source database because there are no sorts and no filters. If I open up these notes inside Peak, I get them just like that. And this already is something that you can see is super useful because now you have all these different views. You have recents, you have inbox, and you can open them up directly from this dashboard and you can take your notes to your heart's content, which is really nice. And where this gets really useful is inside of a tag page, say you already have a bunch of research from the web on a certain topic, and now you are taking some lecture notes as a student, or you're writing up an article about a specific topic. With SidePeek, you can easily just switch over to some research you have, open it up in the side pane, grab grab it, go right back to the note you're working on. You could also, do two Notion windows side by side. I do that all the time, but SidePeek is a really nice addition. And hopefully at some point in the future, they evolve SidePeek to be more like the pane views in Obsidian, because I think those are super duper sweet. Anyway, so the way that we make this note inbox useful is by adding sorting and filter criteria to really turn it into an inbox. So what is an inbox, right? An inbox is a place to catch stuff. It's like your destination for quick capture. And so basically, like if you're on the go, you need to take a note really quickly, you need to capture a web clip, whatever it is, you don't have time to choose a specific tag for it to have or go into a specific page. That's what your inbox is for. And then ideally, you would go process your inbox on a regular basis, maybe like a Sunday review session, and you would go ahead and tag your stuff or archive things that are no longer relevant to you. So the way that we start making this useful is we add filters and sorter. There's a word for that. There's a word where you like switch the first consonant of two words. Let me know in the chat if you know what it is. Sorts and filters. Okay, so the way I want to do this is I want to add first a sort. I'm going to say last edited time, and I'm going to set that to descending. That is going to show our most recent notes at the top, which I personally like. Of course, you can do any sort of filter that you want. And for people in the chat who say this is too fast, there will be a replay. I've said that a couple of times, but there will be one if you're just coming in here. So you'll be able to easily go through this again at your heart's content. And as we, spoonerism, as we go through this, if you have specific questions, let me know. And I will show you, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So I can see one person's already saying this is a bit too fast. We do have some personalized training opportunities, but right now they're very limited. So you can reach out to us, thomas@collegeinfocgeek.com. I'll let you know what the state of our offerings for that are right now, and then let you know once we've expanded them as well. And there are tons and tons of great Notion consultants out there who do actually offer the service. So if we can't help you now, we'll make sure we find you somebody who can help you now. Cool. And yes, spoonerism, that is a thing. That reminds me, I once made a spoonerism generator with Notion formulas. If you want to get real fancy with Notion formulas, there's a fun challenge for you. Okay, so now we have a sorted view, but again, we want to make sure that this is just for the inbox. So we're going to create a filter, and Notion has two different kinds of filters. It has what's called simple filters. If I click just like archive, this is a simple filter. It's just archive is unchecked or checked. I prefer advanced filters, which were the filters that Notion originally shipped with. And I'm going to add that advanced filter right here at the bottom. And this basically creates this whole new little modal here where I can create sets of filters. I could have multiple filter criteria if I wanted to. So for the inbox, what we really want is where tag is empty, because we don't want anything in the inbox to have a tag. Once it's got a tag, say I took a note about gardening, I added my gardening tag, I want it out of the inbox, I want to only see it in my gardening page and then in recents. So tag is empty is our first filter here. And then we do want one other, which is going to be archive is unchecked. So if we archive a note, again, the whole point of it is for it to get out of our hair and go straight to the archive page and nowhere else. If we go back to Ultimate Notes, we can check over and see if I missed anything, and it seems that I did. URL is empty, so that's the other one. So again, we have a Notes tab here. This is for notes that you actually took yourself. And then we have a Web Clips tab here. This would be for clips that you captured, maybe using our app, Flylighter. And that kind of nicely separates those out so you can very quickly see the stuff you took and then switch over and see the stuff that you captured from the web. If you're anything like me, your Web Clips tab is full of stuff, like dozens and dozens of captures a day. So that's why I want them separated from my actual notes. So I'm going to add that filter as well. Add where URL is empty. And that, my friends, is our inbox view. That is all it really needs. We might be showing some, actually, I don't even know if we're showing any additional properties here. We could if we wanted to. So I'll show you how you could do that. If you go to the three-dot menu for this view and you go to properties, you can show any of these properties you want. And actually, I do want to show the tag one here. Now, we have a filter where the moment I apply a tag, it's going to take this note out of the inbox view, but I do want to show the tag property here. And the reason I want to do that is if I actually show it, but I don't have a tag, I at least get this little edit button. And if I click it, now I can say add tag. So let's just add the note 3 to SAS tag, boom, there it's gone. And that is how you could start processing your inbox. Later on, we're going to add another view that is a table view that basically makes it a bit quicker to easily process your inbox. We're going to add that to a different page, but for now, we're at least going to do that. And we basically have our inbox done. I'm going to go ahead and right click the notes view right here, and I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to call this one web clips. So this will be our web clips view. It's very similar to our notes view, except for we want it to be notes that actually do have a URL property. I'm going to change the icon here just to show you how you can do it. Now with view icons, you cannot change their color, but you do have access to that whole set of Notion custom icons. And I think there's one for like, not web, it's like globe or something like that. Is that it? Yeah. Globe. There we go. Perfect. So we got web clips, we got notes. We're basically good to go. Let's go ahead and edit that filter in the web clips area. And let's go ahead and set URL is not empty. And that's it. That is how you create yourself an inbox with a notes and a web clips view, which is pretty darn cool. And a good trick that I use all the time when I'm building Notion layouts is I will duplicate stuff that I've already built instead of building stuff from scratch. So you've already seen me create a linked database view for the inbox. Let's just go ahead and copy that. So the way I do that is I click the 6-dot menu right here, and then I click off. That highlights the whole thing. Then I could just Command C, Control C if you're on Windows, come over here, paste it, and now I have an exact copy of that, which basically sets me up to make a few tweaks for the purpose of this view without having to recreate it from scratch. So going back over here, it looks like we don't actually have a separate web clips tab for favorites. I think that makes sense. Again, favorites are going to be just a few things that we want quick access to. So we can go ahead and delete this view right here. And we can just sort of edit this view. So again, this is not meant to be an inbox. This is meant to be an area to show notes where the favorites property is checked. So we just need to edit our filters here. I'm going to get rid of where tag is empty. That doesn't make sense. If it even has a tag, that's totally fine. I just want it to be favorites. Actually, I turned that into a group instead. Let's go ahead and remove that. Archive is unchecked. We definitely want that still. Again, the whole point of an archive is if we archive a note, it gets out of our hair everywhere. And URL is empty. That also doesn't make sense. So we're going to remove that. But we are going to add where favorite is checked. So now you can start to see how we start to build these linked database views. We have a property that we can check or uncheck. That's called a Boolean. And based on the filters we set up, that Boolean value is going to determine whether or not the note shows up in favorites. And the other cool thing is if you have filters like this, they can act as what I call forcing functions when you create new pages in a view like this. So if I create a brand new page, and let's call this favorite note, where I'm going to keep all my favorite movies and TV shows maybe, and I open it up, we can see favorite is already checked. Bada boom. Because for this page to fit in this view, it has to have that property value for the favorite checkbox. So that's why it's called a forcing function. And this is, again, a huge software design pattern. When you create something in a view that already has filters, it has to fit those filters. So if it possibly can have the properties changed to fit those filters, it will. Now you can run into some problems in Notion where there are filters that they exist, but when you create a new page, it couldn't possibly get that property just by being a brand new page. So for example, if I had like a formula value and I'm filtering by a specific formula value, like this page has to be a week old. If I created a new page, there's no way for it to force itself to be a week old. It would just create it now. So if I were to do that, it would just open up the page and it wouldn't show up in this view. So keep that in mind if you are creating these, what I call forcing functions. All right, let's look at the chat real quick. Does the new Notion updates make the API easier, like Formulas 2.0? I would say no. The API is basically the same as it's always been. There have been small changes to it recently, but for the most part, everything in my API tutorial on Thomas Frank Explains, which I'll quickly show you actually. I need to take a little bit of a break to slow down my speech and let my mouth relax for a couple of seconds. So I'm going to go over to Thomas Frank Explains and show you that video. Where is it? It's higher than there. Here it is. Notion API crash course for beginners. If you want to learn how to use the Notion API with code, because again, you can use Zapier or make.com with no code, but if you want to use it directly with code, this is right here. It's 2 hours long. It is a full build guide. You get to build a Pokedex. So one thing they say in the Blender 3D animation community is if you want to if you want to learn Blender, you make the donut. There's like a very famous donut tutorial. Well, if you want to learn the Notion API, you make the Pokedex, and then you'll have all the skills you need. Of course, you can always use Zapier or make.com with no code tools, and that works perfectly well as well. All right, so we have our favorites. We have our inbox. The next things we need to create are our recents and tag views. For recents, we can do the same old fun, lazy thing that we did before. We can click that 6-dot menu and we can copy it and just paste it right beneath recents. and we can edit our filters. So think about this for a second. In fact, I do want to go get my drink. So I'm going to ask you to think about this for just a second. How would you modify the filters we already had for favorites to meet the requirements of the recent section where you're seeing notes across your entire workspace, basically, or your entire Ultimate Notes template, no matter if they're tagged or not? How would you edit those filters? Think about it for just a second. I'm going to grab my drink and I'll be right back. It was more than a second. Someone's asking about spoonerisms. So, my name spoonerized would be Fromis Tank. And so that's what it is. Marissa's name spoonerized would be Garissa Moldberg. And some names are just hilarious when they are spoonerized. Okay, so one person's asking, will the new version of Ultimate Brain update automatically? Unfortunately, that is impossible to do. I wish we could do it. I seriously wish we could. But when you duplicate a Notion template into your Notion workspace, it is completely yours at that point. It is an exact copy of the template that we provided you, but there's now no connection whatsoever between our copy and your copy. And that's just really how Notion works. Like, it's a bunch of Legos in your computer, essentially. So we're giving you like pre-assembled Legos. What that means is we cannot update templates remotely. It's not like software as a service where you're just using a set UI and we can push updates. I wish it was like that, but really you're getting your own copy. So the way we get around that is when we make updates, we make a full upgrade guide, so you can very easily upgrade your own template if you want to. If you don't want to, if you're like, hey, I'm perfectly happy with what I got, you also don't have to update it. So that is one nice little benefit of the fact that we can't push updates is if you don't like them, you don't have to update them. We're also working on a full transfer guide. So if you want to like transfer your current content to a new copy of the template, you will be able to do that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but we are working on a full guide in case you do want to do it. So really all it comes down to like, how much do you enjoy the Zen practice of fixing your Notion setups? If you're just like, I don't care, I want to use it. Well, I stand by how good Ultimate Brain was when it launched, and I think anybody can keep using it. If you want all the new stuff, you can either upgrade, transfer, or partially upgrade, because our upgrade guides are split into chapters. Cool. Yeah, so I'm going to go back to our regularly scheduled tutorial here. And again, there is a template link in the description. So if you want this as a template, you just want to take notes, you can get this for free. If you want to do everything, full productivity system in Notion, you can do Ultimate Brain, also in the description below. So hopefully you thought about how you would edit this little database view here to change it from being a favorites view to a recents view, because now I'm going to give you the answer. Basically, we want to sort, again, by last edited time, and we want to remove that favorites filter. And that, my friends, would be it. Now we can see all the notes in our entire workspace. We can see if they have tags or not, and they are sorted by their last edited time. In fact, that reminds me, for the favorites one, I think I actually want to remove that sort. And the reason for that is with favorites, I might want to actually manually drag them around to have a specific order for my favorites. That kind of functions just like the favorites sidebar in Notion itself. You can drag these around all you want. I kind of want to replicate that here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. In recents, again, I do want it actually sorted by the last edited date, so we're good there. We have our archive filter, and then the other one, if we go to Ultimate Notes, and if we want to actually replicate what we have here in this recents area, we'll have one other rule, and that's again going to be where URL is empty, because we want to have a notes tab for our manually taken notes. We want to have a web clips tab for our web clips and captures. And then one thing that I did is I made a third one for voice notes, and this is just going to filter for anything with the type voice note. So if you're a very heavy voice note user like I am, I go on very long walks and I will take often 4 or 5 a day. I want to have a specific spot for my voice notes. Right now, I'm actually listening through it's like 9 or 10 years old at this point, but it's like the startup school that Sam Altman and a bunch of the YC people did at Stanford. It's all on YouTube. It's all free. So I'm listening through that, trying to learn as much as I can for marketing and running Flylighter well. And a lot of times I'll get a great insight from that. I'll pause it. open up my voice recorder, just talk about it for 5 minutes. Like, how would this apply to my company? And within about a minute after I finish recording, it's in my Notion note-taking system, which is pretty sweet. So to build that, we're going to once again duplicate our little notes view here. But first, I want to add that filter. So we're going to do, again, where URL is empty. Just like that. Now I'll duplicate my notes view and call that one web clips one more time. If you'll recall, we had that globe icon for web clips, and then we can just filter the opposite way where URL is not empty. And if we want that voice notes view as well, we can once again duplicate. Again, reduce work as much as possible, my friends. You can duplicate your views and then simply just tweak the filters as you need. So I'll answer the question about Flyletter in just a second. I'm going to finish this little task first. So we're going to call this one voice notes. Let's actually take the step of giving this a microphone icon. That's way better for voice notes. And then for the filter here, we want to go ahead and probably remove the URL. You can keep it if you wanted to, but the main thing we want here is where our type property contains the voice note tag. And bada bing, bada boom. Again, if we do forcing filter, we can create a voice note sample page. And you can see it automatically has that voice note tag just like that. Okay, so we're going to go on to the tags view in just a second. But we did have a question about Flyletter. Flyletter is the all-in-one Notion information and web capture tool that we are building. Basically, a year ago, I was frustrated with the tools out there for capturing information to Notion. I capture tons and tons of web pages to Notion. I capture tons of highlights. There was a lot of things that the Notion Web Clipper did not do for me. There were a lot of things that no tool could do for me. So we started building the best Notion Web Clipper that you have ever seen. It is monstrously powerful. You can create these flows that instantly capture pages, automatically apply tags, automatically apply other property values. You can easily go in and change the settings for a specific capture. If you want to see what it can do, you can go to flyletter.com, and we have a full demo video here. We're also working on an iOS app. In fact, I have a test flight on my phone right now. I've been using it over the last couple of weeks. So now we actually have a way to instantly capture articles that you run across in mobile Safari or an app on your phone to Notion. And there's a lot of more advanced features, super powerful workflows coming in the future. My Notion voice notes, AI-powered voice note taking feature is going to be in Flyletter in the mobile app. So tons of really cool stuff happening. What I want to solve with that is capture. Basically, I want to build a suite of tools for capturing stuff to Notion that is better than what is currently available, but then doesn't try to become an app where you send all of your stuff. I want people to be able to use the tools they're already using as their second brains. So that's the idea behind Flyletter. Pitch over, going back to our little build guide here, and I can see there's one person saying, as I'm duplicating, I lose the filters, which is interesting because when I duplicate, so if right here, I've got the filters, boom, 2 filters, archive and URL. If I right click and duplicate this, I still have the filters. So if you're losing the filters, that might be a bug in your current application. Maybe you need to update it. I'm not sure. Feel free to email us later on if it is a big bug, but that shouldn't be happening. And maybe even tweet Notion about that or email them about a bug if that is happening to you. Okay, so I'm gonna delete that. I think we have recents done. We have our web clips. We have our voice notes, and we don't have a sample web clip. So let me go ahead and make one here and just test it out. So I'm gonna call this web clip. And I'm going to give it a URL of, I'm a good marketer. I'm a good marketer. The URL is flyletter.com. There it is. And if I go to web clips here, I should see, yep, web clip. Perfect. For the web clips view, what I might want to do is actually show the URL. Let me check if I did that in Ultimate Notes. No, I did not. And I think the reason I didn't do it is because when we're on tighter views here or when we're really zoomed in, the URL can get really, really cramped here with the title. So I didn't do that. I just kept it there. You could easily add it if you wanted a very quick, one click to the URL itself. You could easily do that by going to properties here and then enabling the URL just like that. And there's your URL. You can click it. Bob's your uncle. I don't know why it's always Bob. My uncle's name is Mike. So I don't have a Bob. Though when I was a kid, we had a boxing dummy and we did call him Uncle Bob. Okay, so we now need to make a tags view here. Now, this is going to be a view of a different database because if you'll remember, we had, and I will, for anybody new, I will go back to our databases page here. We have two databases, one for all of our notes and then one for tags. So here we need to make a linked view of our tags database. So once again, I'm gonna do list, and you could do anything you want. You could do gallery, you could do table. I'm gonna do a gallery actually, but I'm gonna start with list, and I'm gonna find my tags database as my data source, create a new empty view, and now I've got a brand new view of my tags database. I do not want that that database title there. Just looks a little tacky. And I'm gonna hit done. So now we've got a list of our tags. Let's go ahead and get rid of these blank ones. I don't really like them. And the only filter I think we need to have in here is where archive is unchecked. And we can go and we can check our current copy just to check on that. Yep, that is indeed. So what we're going to do here for tags is we're going to create 3 different views in this little area here. We're going to have a recent one. This is going to sort by latest note date. So it's not going to sort by the latest change to the tag itself. It's going to sort by the latest change to a note inside the tag, which I think is pretty useful because if you had a ton of different tags, the one you've been writing notes about and working on the most recently should show up here at the top. We'll do an A to Z one that just sorts alphabetically, and then we will create a favorites area. So, you know, if you have a big note-taking system with dozens of tags, you could mark them as favorites, just like you could with notes, and see only your favorite tags here. And I'm using a gallery view for that because it's pretty. So let's go ahead and make our pretty views. This one I'm going to use as our A to Z. So I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it A to Z. And I'm going to sort it by name, ascending. Good to go. Let's make another one. Let's call it gardening. I'm playing Mario Odyssey again, and I just got to the like forest level, so I just keep thinking about gardening and seeds and those little guys that have like the tall legs, you know, if you play that game. If you haven't played the game, you should play it. And you can see now our filter or our sort criteria puts gardening above SAS. Cool, good to go. Okay, so the next one we're gonna create is our favorites area. So I'm going to, I'm just gonna duplicate this one again. I like duplicating. I'm gonna call this favorites. Let's give it a star icon. And we're going to change the layout. So you see here on layout, it's listed as list. And if we change, or if we go to that little layout tab here, we can change that to gallery. And now you see we have a nice little gallery view here. So we have a few different options for gallery. I'm going to change the card preview to page cover. I'm going to change the size to small. And I am also going to wrap the properties and open the pages in side peek. So by default, I think it is galleries and calendar views. They still open the old center peek, which I don't love personally. So I'm going to change that to side peek, just as we do with our list views. And now we have a nice little gallery view. I need to change our filters to add where the favorite checkbox is checked. So now nothing's going to show up. Let's say there's another tag that I really like. I want it in my favorites here. Let's call it, I don't know, movies. We'll have a tag for movies. And now movies is going to show up there. We could give it a cover. Let's do that. Let's change that to something related to movies. Is there like actually, is there Godzilla? Is there Godzilla in Unsplash? There is, yeah. Well, that might just be a crocodile, but close enough for my movies tag. And now we can see that's just sitting there with the tag there. You could always turn off the page cover, but I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna look over a couple of different questions in the chat, and then we will get to building some of the additional views here. And we're gonna have to get into formulas eventually. I'm gonna try to hold off as long as possible on formulas. So maybe we'll build some of those pages first. Let's see here. Will this video be available on the channel? Yes, I am intending to keep it up as a replay, and I will also send it out in the newsletter. Okay, does notes different than resources in the Para system? I think the nature of this question is, are tags different than resources in Para? Really, nope. We're just using the term tags here because we're not really building Ultimate Notes as a Para template. I'm kind of building this as something that anybody can use, even if they haven't heard of Para before. So I'm using the term tags, but it is identical to resources in functionality. Cool. So are you making a new video for your UI changes to Ultimate Brain? I absolutely am. In fact, if you are in our community, if you go to the Ultimate Brain tutorials channel in that little Ultimate Brain space, that first pinned post, we have a brand new video going over all of the changes. We have another video on where to start. There's a new light view that is great for beginners. So we'll go over that. And then after I finish the stream today, I'm working on additional videos going over all the upgrades, how to perform them if you are a current customer. And we're also going to be making brand new tutorial videos. We have to basically reshoot the entire course that teaches Ultimate Brain. So it's going to take us a little bit, but we are trucking through it. And somebody says they really love the new beat already. So there's a great endorsement in the chat already. And we are going to move on to, let's see here. We have a lot of things we could do. I think what I want to do first is make the noteboard. So under noteboard, we're going to create another maybe new type of database view that you haven't seen yet, and that is a board view. It's a Kanban view, very similar to Trello or a column and row sticky note thing on a whiteboard, and that is going to allow us to drag notes between different tags or different types as well, just like this. So to do that, once again, we're going to hit our handy dandy / command. We're going to go board this time. Hopefully you're not bored. And we're going to choose our all notes database one more time. New empty view, so it actually comes in as a board. And now we have a few different options here. Again, I do not want to show that database title. I'm getting rid of that. I remember when Notion didn't have the option to turn it off. It was so annoying. You'd have like a title and then your database title. It's the exact same text. We're going to keep our card size down to small, just so we can see more on the screen. I will keep those properties wrapped. And then here's the most important thing, group by. So you can see right now it is grouping by the type property we created earlier. I want to group by instead the tag property. So now if I choose that, it's grouping by that SAS tag, that no tag. And I'll come back here in a second, but I'm going to show you if you wanted to show another tag that already existed, you hit the plus button here, you find the tag page you want, add it just like that. And you're kind of just like tending your little digital garden here. So now you've got all these different tags. Let's say this note 4 is actually a gardening note. I can just slide it onto the gardening thing just like that. Let's call this perennials. Perennials I want. Give me plants. Cool. And I don't know, this one might be our movies. You can sort things just like that. Upcoming releases. Let me know in the chat, what's the upcoming movie release I should see? Last movie I saw was The Creator. That was pretty cool, actually. I don't know if I'll go see it again, but it was a really good one-time experience, at least. Okay, so we now have our noteboard. Let's add any of the filters and sorts we need. And then I also want to add some colors to these columns as well. So first filter, I think that's just going to be the archive. Again, archive is unchecked. And we can check here just to make sure. One rule. Yep, that's all it is. Cool, cool, cool. Is it the same over there? Yes, it is. And then we can add a sort as well. So just like with recents, I would like this to sort by last updated date. If you wanted to be able to drag these around like that, then don't add sorting criteria. Then you'll just be doing what's called manual sort. But I do want to add last edited time descending as my sort criteria. Cool. And then if we go back into here, we can go into our layout one more time. And there is a color columns option, which I like for relations. So if you're grouping by relation, it doesn't actually come in as different columns or colors. But if you're grouping by a select or multi-select, which we'll do in a second, you can actually do that. So, and someone's saying I should watch Killers of the Flower Moon. Is that going to be like super depressing? I mean, that's a McCarthy novel, right? I think I bought that for a friend. One Christmas, I made my friend like a manly box, and it had Killers of the Flower Moon, a small thing of scotch, and a hunting knife in it. Okay, is the noteboard the same as the white space in the old TF dashboard version? I'm not quite sure what that question means, so if you can rephrase, I'll be happy to answer it. Going back here, we are going to make another view of this noteboard because right now you can see we are basically grouping by the tags. In fact, I'm going to go up here and rename that to by tag. And I want to go ahead and duplicate this one more time and call this one by type. So the only change we're going to make here is we're going to go into layout and we're going to group by, instead of tag, we're going to group by type. So now you can see that book, lecture, voice note, no type, those are our columns. And a couple of things you can do here. You can hit color columns, and they actually do come in as the colors that sort of match the colors you set for the tags. Another thing you can do is if you're keeping sort to manual, you can actually move these around. So I like no type being on the left. That way I can easily just kind of slide things from the no type column to other columns as needed. We can also hide empty groups if we want to. However, for this purpose, I think hiding them isn't actually the best thing to do because you kind of want them to be available for you to do some sorting work. So that's Noteboard. Looking here, let's see here, fix my tags. Have you created a dashboard or page for school? I think we actually do have a full article that Alex on our team wrote in the support guide or the support area. Let me see if I can find it for you quick. I believe it's support.thomasjerryfrank.com. And what happens if I search for students? Here we go. How to set up Ultimate Brain for school and university. So Alex, who was on our team, I think he wrote this when he was 20. He basically wrote this entire guide, including like all these setup diagrams specifically for student use. So if you are curious about that, I will send this link to Marissa in our Slack. Boom. And she can share that in the chat as we get back to our build guide here. And I guess I'll mention one thing before we move on. If you have questions that I do not get to on this stream, Tom Frankly on Twitter is where you can ask me questions publicly. And then, of course, if you are an Ultimate Brain customer, we have that support community over at community.thomasjfrank.com. We answer every single question that gets asked. So if you are one of our customers, you can ask any question you want. But hopefully this is, useful, illuminating. It helps you actually build your Notion building skills. I think anybody who's hanging out on this stream actually wants to build things for themselves. So hopefully we're getting some additional clarity and helping you out here. Okay, so I think we have our Noteboard basically finished. What I want to do now is start to create those individual pages. And this is going to start teaching you how you can build a template with multiple pages that isn't just a single dashboard. Again, the reason that we want to do these is if I go to this recents page here, you can see a good example. This just has two views. If we go to the favorites one, this just has one view. And this is really handy on mobile if you just want to immediately get to your favorites section or immediately get to your recent notes section. Loading up this whole dashboard on mobile, especially if on a slower connection, there are a lot more pages that have to load on the page because you have so many different views of your databases. That can be a bit of a pain. So it's really nice to create these additional pages here that are just single function. And what makes it really easy is that we can literally just copy our views that we've already made and put them on a new page, and we're good to go. So let's start doing that. I'm going to start replacing these headings with links, but before we can do that, we actually have to create the pages. And the area in which I want to create these pages is at the top of this page, and I'll show you why in just a second. So to start this, I'm going to create a toggle. So I can do the little bracket symbol here and hit space, and that is going to create a toggle. I'm going to call this quick links. And later on, we can actually link to some of the pages we're going to create. But inside of this, I actually want to create a couple of different columns. So I'm going to do a 2C one more time. This is a pretty cool addition to Notion that's fairly recent. You used to have to basically go through hell to create multiple columns inside of a toggle, but now we can just do it with /2C, which is sweet. And if we do a /callout, we can get this nice little callout here, which I like quite a lot. So I'm going to give it its own icon. And actually, this is exactly what I want, list bullet. This I will call main views. And here's a cool little tip. One of the Notion employees said, "Oh my God, this is Jason Bourne," when I showed this on Twitter. So you know it's cool. If you enter down from a callout like I've just done, and then you hit tab, you're back into the column. And then I really like to do triple dash to create a divider there. That's just this really nice aesthetic trick that I use. Another fun little trick, if you hold Option or Alt on Windows and you drag from the 6 dot, now you're duplicating, my friend. So I'm going to call this one Special Views. And now we can start creating pages here, and those are going to be our individual pages. So the first one I'll create is inbox/page, just like that. It's called inbox. I'm going to give that an icon, and there is a tray icon that is perfect for inbox views. Now, here's what we can do. We can actually just copy this view right here. Control-C, Command-C, go into inbox, and pop it right on the page. It's going to give you the option to paste and sync. If you wanted to use a sync block, you could do that. I don't need to. I don't anticipate needing to change the structure of these databases once we're done. So I'm just going to hit dismiss, and that's going to create an actual copy of those database views that we have created. Again, as a reminder, we're just making different views of our databases. We're not making new databases. So we see voice notes, we see favorite notes. If we go back here, we see the same stuff. It's all the same source database. So this is our inbox. And one thing that I added to Ultimate Notes, if we go into the inbox view, is I actually created a separate web clips view. And this just kind of creates this nice little separated inbox area. I thought this was a nice design pattern for an inbox, because if you're coming in and you're trying to like get things organized, you're trying to delete stuff that's no longer relevant for you, it's kind of nice to just see both of these in 2 columns. So I'm going to do this. You don't have to. You could just keep these tabs as they are, but I'm going to do it just to show you how to do it. So again, I'm going to make this a full width page. And then I'm going to do enter down from the title to C. And now I've got a couple of different columns. I'm going to do /1, call this inbox, and over here /1 web clips. Cool. Now I can click this little 6 dot and I can drag it just like that to get into this column. I'm going to go ahead and delete the, actually, no, I don't want to delete it yet. Again, let's work smart. Let's work smart. Instead of deleting it first, let's hold Option, drag this over to make a copy, and now we can selectively delete. So in the inbox area, I can delete that, delete web clips, and in the web clips area, I can delete notes. And there you go. We have basically replicated this without having to do a whole lot of extra work. So this is how you make really quick pages in Notion. And one thing we are sort of missing here is the button and the quick links area here. So let's start to actually create that, and then we'll be able to, again, duplicate a lot of our effort to the other pages instead of doing it manually. So I'm going to go ahead and make another toggle. Again, that's just the right pointing bracket and space. We'll call that quick links. And I made this mistake when I was building this template for the first time, so I'm going to point it out. You might be tempted to grab this here. Oops. Uh-oh, what did I do? What did I do? I broke something. I definitely broke something. Okay, I hit the wrong keyboard shortcut. So you get to see the beauty of doing it live. I hit the wrong keyboard shortcut. So now I need to figure out where this is. It's in a page called Quick Links. I want this page to be elsewhere, and I accidentally put it really far into the template. Okay, I'm gonna do this by hitting, we're gonna do some surgery here. I'm gonna go back to Ultimate Notes. I'm gonna favorite that. And I wanna go find my inbox page, and I wanna put that back in Ultimate Notes. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of that. I don't think we need it, and put this back. So I think what I accidentally did is I turned my navigation bar into a page, and then I accidentally went to a different page instead of hitting undo. So we have to redo this. I'm gonna do it super quick, and you can see just how quick you can start to build stuff in Notion once you're used to it. One could say I almost planned this screw up just to show you my super sweet Notion skills. I didn't do that, but one could say that I did that, and one might not even be challenged. Special views. Okay, there we go. There we go. So now we're back here. Okay, what I was gonna say is you might be tempted to copy this quick links bar with this nice little layout in there, copy it, and then go into inbox and paste it. What will happen is you'll create another copy of this inbox page, because what is sitting here, it's actually a page. It's not a link to a page that lives somewhere else. So we don't want to do that. We need to make it from scratch one more time, once at least. So we'll do a call out again. Actually, we want 2 columns. There we go. Gonna set that to that little icon there, call that main views. Again, we've done this already. And if you are feeling confused, if you're feeling behind, again, this will have a replay. So you can go back through it at your heart's content. We'll also have a full video that I do for this. It'll have less of me screwing up and less of me reading chat. So this is my practice run actually for this video. Yep. Let's see here. I'm gonna answer a set of questions after we finish this inbox page. So what do we do to make this different than our Ultimate Notes dashboard? Well, what we're doing here is we're literally placing the inbox page in this quick links bar. The reason we're doing that is if we open up Ultimate Notes in our sidebar, as we actually have already done, you can see we have this view of all notes, view of all notes, view of all notes. These are those linked database views that we created earlier, and we can name them. I think I've actually done that in Ultimate Notes. I've given them nice little names. Yep, right here, view inbox, view favorites, that kind of thing. But I want to be able to see my actual pages above those views. These can get kind of annoying. I kind of wish there was a way to turn off those links, but there isn't. So by putting my pages here at the top inside of quick links, they will show up at the top of this list of subpages inside of Ultimate Notes. That's why I do that. Going into Inbox, we want to actually have a link to every page we're going to create here without duplicating the page. So the way we can do that is we can do /link, or, and I'll show you the difference actually. We can do /link, and we can find our inbox, and that's going to create an actual link block. And you can see it actually creates a backlink. So if I want to get rid of that, again, 3-dot menu up here, customize page, I will turn that off. And that's a link block. Another way you can do this, I'll go ahead and delete this, is you can create what's called a mention. So if you do double bracket, you can find that inbox page. This creates what's called an inline mention. So it's still a link to that page. We're kind of linking to ourselves right now. We're on inbox, but it does not create a link in the sidebar. If I open this up, I'm not going to see that. If I were to use the actual link block, I'd see it there. So there's a couple of other differences between mentions and links, but that's the main one. So we've got that there. We're going to start building this out a little bit later once we have more pages. But for now, we're pretty much good. And the other thing we want is a button to create a new note. So there's a brand new Notion feature called buttons. We had a whole video about it. Maybe we can link that in the chat. But this button essentially allows you to click it and do either one thing or a whole suite of actions. And there's a whole lot of stuff you can do with buttons. You can create sets of default tasks inside of a project. You can edit pages. You can do all kinds of really cool stuff. So what I want to do here is just create a really quick, really instant way to create a brand new note. So to do that with this button, when the button is clicked, we're going to do add page to. We're going to select a database, and that's going to be our all notes database. And then you can actually edit properties if you want to. Because we just want to create a new note, we don't really want to set it with any default properties. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to name this new note, and that's going to be about it. I do think I want to give it an icon. So let's give it a cool little pencil icon or something like that. I think that works pretty nicely. And that'll be done. Actually, one small change we do want to make to this is after the note is created, let's add another step, and that's going to be open page. And then we can actually set this as the new page that is added. And I want to open this in SidePeek because really what this is going to get you is the ability to go, boop, there's a new note. Hello, I'm a new note. And I love you. So that's how you could very quickly take notes. And we'll put a new note button on like that just on the dashboard as well. So that is pretty much our inbox page. I'm going to take a quick break to read chat, see if there are any important questions, and then we're going to start creating the additional pages. And then after that, we're going to get into the more advanced stuff, my friends. We might take a small break for me to go, I don't know, like do some pull-ups on the rings over there. Let your brain sort of sit with what we've covered, and then we're going to get back to some more advanced stuff after we create those additional pages. But let's check the chat real quick here. Again, let's see here. If the Notion dev team was listening now and could make Notion's wish come true tomorrow, what feature or functionality would you ask for? One person is saying the option to deploy changes to people who have downloaded your template. I actually wouldn't want that. So here's the problem. Like, even if Notion gave us the ability to push out over-the-air updates to our templates, what would happen if you downloaded the template earlier and you made a bunch of changes to it? Then either your changes get totally overridden or there's a bunch of merge conflicts. There's just no way I could think of to push over-the-air updates unless you have ways to literally lock down certain features. Like, okay, this is a feature that can be updated over the air that way, or for that reason, you literally just can't update it yourself. And I think that just sort of goes against the ethos of Notion. Like, you're supposed to be able to build things the way you want them. So what we give you with templates is a starting point, and then it's yours to sort of edit from the future. What I would actually, if I could wave my magic wand, what I actually would have in Notion is what are called row-level policies for database items. This is a technical term, but what it represents is the ability to share a subset of a database with a certain person. This is probably the most common legitimate request that I get from people who are asking me to ask Notion things that Notion gets. Tons of people who are like, hey, I run an agency. I have all these projects in my projects database, but I only want to share the projects related to this client with that client without them being able to see everything else. That's what I want Notion to ship. And I've asked for it in a million different ways. I've asked for like, hey, give us an ability to set permissions based on a database view. What I think would actually work better is what's called row level security. So this is like something from database science, like database design. You can set a thing where it's like, okay, this user can only access the rows where they are actually in this property, like a tag property. So like imagine like a task manager. You could have like an assignee property. And if Thomas gets assigned to specific tasks, you could write a thing where it's like, only those tasks where he's assigned, those are the only ones he can see. So that's, if I could wave my magic wand for Notion, that's what I would want. Okay, so let's see here. And other people are asking for the same thing. So yeah, I know people want the infamous offline mode. If you want offline mode that badly, I would recommend using Obsidian for that kind of stuff, because Notion is built, from like the ground up as a collaborative app with like instant syncing and the ability to do the same stuff on the same page, like multiple people. That just is sort of fundamentally at odds with offline functionality. Would it be cool to have like the ability to set certain pages offline? I think so, but I also think the moment we get that, it's like a Pandora's box thing where people are like, give me automated tools for that. Give me like exceptional things where sometimes people can go in, like now you have like unlocking and locking, and it would just be so messy. Okay, let's see here. It would be very helpful if Notion adds support for filtered relations so we can only select items that satisfy the condition. Yes, I super want that. Let's see here. Great content. I am struggling with calendar management, project management for my business using separate project management calendars in Notion and iCal. Yeah, this is tough. Personally, like we don't make heavy use of calendars in Notion with the one exception of our editorial calendar. In Creators Companion, we literally have a calendar that's like showing the publish dates for content that's coming out. Otherwise, meetings, things I gotta go do, I just use Google Calendar. Actually, I use Cron, but Google Calendar is like the engine of the calendars behind Cron, the UI. So for now, I would say use Notion for very limited calendar use cases and use a good calendar app as a companion to it. Hopefully we get better calendar tools from Notion in the future. They did acquire Cron, which is literally a calendar app, maybe a year and a half ago. So I'm guessing they're working on some pretty cool stuff behind the scenes. They haven't told me anything yet, but hopefully, I'm like, fingers crossed. Okay, cool. So let's see here. What if we organize notes using sub items? If you really want to mess with this, I should probably talk about this more at the end of the stream, but I will say, if you really want to mess with this, in the Ultimate Notes here, there's the actual Ultimate Notes template. I made a version that would do sub items. I'll add it at the end here, but there's some big problems with using sub items, especially with the setup that we're going to do here, where we can actually go into a tag page and see all of our notes. There's a couple of technical limitations that Notion needs to to bridge the gap for us to be able to fully utilize sub items with this template structure we're building here, which I think is super useful and not worth giving up for sub items. So if you're wondering like, hey, why aren't sub items in your templates, Tom? This is the reason. And if we have time at the end of the stream, I'll cover it in more detail if you want to get into the really nerdy technical stuff. There's a concept we're going to cover in a little bit that you need to understand before you can even understand why this wouldn't work. Okay, cool. More questions. I would love to have a way to relate databases without having to add a bunch of columns to my main database. Really the solution for that is just hiding those columns in the views of the databases that you're actually using. So, here, if you're just coming to the stream, maybe you didn't see this, we have like this view of our notes database where the only property we're showing is tags. That's it. But we have a bunch of properties here. And a cool thing you can do, which I haven't gone over yet, you can go to this customize page option. So if you go here to customize page, all these properties, you can set their visibility. So tag, I'm going to set that as a page section. Oh, this is why we have a back channel, because I didn't share my screen. So going back a little bit more, people asking about like all those properties. You can see here, we only have a tag property here. If I go into this property, I have all these properties showing. I can go to customize page just like that. And I can choose to, only show a property if it has a value. So hide when empty. I can always hide if I want to. So with created time, I always hide it. Favorite, I like to always show, so it's very easily clicked. Last edited time, again, I always hide that. That's more useful for filters than it is for actually seeing. Tags, I'll cover that in a second because there's a cool thing you can do with tags. URL, I will only show when it's not empty. So now you can see we have a lot of properties in our database, but we're only seeing a couple here. And in this view, we're only seeing, well, really none of them. If we were to add a tag, we'd see that. That's it. So that's kind of how you can get past that, like that problem where you have so many properties, is you just choose to selectively hide them or not show them in specific database views. With the tags, I want to show you a new feature that Notion has here. So here we could add the tag just like that. I'll add SAS as the tag there, but we can also, with relation properties, choose to show it as I think it's as a page section. So if we go to tag here, we have always show, always hide when empty. Those are default different options for any kind of property. We also have page section or minimal. So I'm going to choose page section just to show you what it looks like. Now it's here. It's literally a different section in the page. I personally don't love this. So what I actually want to do is change that to minimal. So I'm going to go to customize page again. I'm going to set tag to minimal. And now you can see we just have one tag here, and there it is. And if we wanted to, we could come to this little customize shown properties inside this relation, and we could even show specific information about this tag. So if it was favorited, we could see that it was actually favorited. If it's archived, we could do that. I don't really have anything that I want to show right now. Maybe we'll add something later on when we get into formulas, but that is something you can do, and that is how I like to represent tags. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions before we move on to creating the rest of those individual pages. Do you feel like Notion is the fastest place for quick, heavy note-taking versus Obsidian or something else? I think Notion is a contender, for sure. I think Obsidian is also amazing. There are also some other apps I haven't really gotten the chance to try out. There's Reflect, there's Capacities, there's tons of cool things. What it really comes down to is, what are your goals and what's the context of your work? So if you're working with a team, if you're often sharing a lot of documents with your team, then Notion is by far the winner, I think. If you are completely solo, if you want things to be offline, if you really like the idea that your notes are actually just files in your computer, then Obsidian's design philosophy makes a lot of sense, and it might have some strengths over Notion. It's local first, whereas Notion is like collaborative first, so it's cloud first. So it really just comes down to like what feels good for you to use, and then what actually fits your individual needs. Okay, so how do you handle backups of your Notion systems? I do a manual export of my UB every week. I actually don't do it. Maybe I should. It'd be cool if you could actually do it, but I've seen enough instances where like if something accidentally gets deleted, contact Notion support, they restore it. So they're the ones who do the backups. If there was like a super clean way to do backups, I would do it. But again, it takes forever. So I just don't worry about it. And a part of this comes from the fact that like when I switched from Evernote, I did not transfer all my notes over. I'm going to try it just as like an exercise. But I didn't do it because I realized like all those notes, if I need them, I'm going to go get them. But 99% of them I don't need anymore. So yeah. Yeah. People asking if this is live. This is live. High study with Carlo. This is totally live. So if I screw up or accidentally curse or something, it's just the nerves. Okay, we are going to get back into actually building here. So if we look at our actual Ultimate Notes template here, you will notice that our headings for inbox and favorites and recents, these are actually links to specific pages. So what we need to do is create those pages, and then we can link to them. And again, we can start to duplicate our efforts here because we have inbox, we have this kind of stuff. So we can actually start to grab some of these elements from the inbox later on instead of trying to recreate them all from scratch. We do need those pages first. So I'm going to create a brand new page just by hitting the plus icon here. I'm going to do /page. We'll call this one favorites. I'm going to give that a star icon. We're basically just doing the same thing we did a little earlier with our actual favorites page, or actual favorites dashboard section. If I go back with command bracket, I'm gonna just go ahead and copy once again this favorites view, go to our favorites page, paste it just like that, and boom, there are our favorites. Let's take a quick look at the favorites page in the finished template. And yeah, we're pretty much good there. We have these buttons here that we're gonna add a little bit later, but right now we have those. We have those, the view right there. If there's a property, we have tags. So let me go ahead and make sure that I'm showing that tag property. And we are, cool. So favorite notes, maybe I'll even give favorite notes a tag just to show you what that would look like. Let's give it a SAS tag. There it is, now it's showing. And that's our favorites. So we're gonna go ahead and add our quick notes bar and our buttons a little later. For now, I wanna create the rest of our pages. So go back to Ultimate Notes, create some more pages. We'll create one called Recents. Get a little clock icon for that one. feel like I should have like calm music or something. I don't know. Well, Bob Ross didn't have calm music. He just had his voice. But I'm not Bob Ross, so maybe I do need music. I don't know. Anyway, for recents, if we look at our page in Ultimate Notes as a reference, I think this is another one. Yep, this is another one where we have two different sections. So if you're new, you get to see a little trick I'm doing here. I'm going to click my recents view, copy it once again, head to my recents page, paste it. There it is. And then we can do a little splitting trick. So I'm going to enter down from the title, do /2C to get two columns. Call this one notes and this one web clips. Again, doing /1 for heading 1. And now I can just drag this up here. If I hold Option or Alt while dragging from this little 6-dot menu, I'll get a total copy of this. And then I can just delete the views I don't need. So for notes, I don't need web clips. Goodbye. I'm going to keep voice notes though. And then for web clips, I don't need notes. And I don't need voice notes. And again, there will be a full replay for this. So if you don't know what I'm doing, you can watch the entire thing from the beginning. Once this is done, we'll have the replay up. But now I have this recents page and I can see all of my notes across my entire note-taking system, my voice notes, and my web clips on a specific page. Now let's make one for tags. We are just trucking on down the line. And I'm going a little bit faster with some of these setup bits because we're really just kind of duplicating effort here. Full width. If we go back to our Ultimate Notes dashboard, again, we are going to just copy this right here. And there is one, I'm going to make one more view. We do need to make a formula later on, but I think we'll just go ahead and make the view twice. So yeah, we'll just copy it now because I want to show you how to get to a usable position before we get into the formulas. Adding that tags view just like that. There it is. And let's check our reference copy just to see if we did it right. Yes, we did. We can add a button a little bit later, but again, we're going to do that a little bit later. Cool. So now we have our tags view, and I want to create at least one special view called Noteboard because we already have a Noteboard view. So page, Noteboard. I think there's like a squares icon. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good for Noteboard. And I'll make that full width as well. And grab this. Same process we've been using for everything else. Just pasting it on in there, not doing a synced block. And now we have all of these nice mobile optimized pages that we can easily just go into from our phone and do what we need to do without loading up a gigantic dashboard. Okay, so looking at our reference copy, I think we have a few other pages in the other pages or special views. We have a process, we have an archive, and a databases. So looking at process, this is basically just an area with table views and a board view where it's a little easier to tag your notes. So the reason we want this is here in the inbox, if I want to add a tag here, I have to hit the edit button and then I have to add tag. And that doesn't take too long for one note, but it can take a while for a lot of notes. So what we do at the process page is we use a table view where we can just click in here and instantly set our tag. And you can even do this little drag thing, which is really, really nice. So we're going to do that real quick. We're going to make a process page. And I think we're going to start with our Noteboard template here. So /page, call this process. I'm going to use a check mark icon, I think. Cool. Set that to full width. And let's look at what we have here. So we have a board view, which is actually the same one from the Noteboard, but we also have an inbox tab. And we could actually add this to the Noteboard page if we wanted to. I'm going to stick with the design that I have here just to not be changing stuff on the fly. And then we also have a tags view. So again, we're doing a lot of copying and pasting, which makes things a lot less tedious. I'm going to go back into, actually I'm going to grab Noteboard right here. I'm going to copy it, go to my process page. I actually want to create a little header called inbox, and I'll paste it right there. So now we have by tag. I'm going to get rid of by type. And I'm going to instead create a new view here. And this one is going to be all notes once again. I'm going to do a new empty view. And this actually kind of shows you what happens when you get a brand new empty view. You get a table, you have all the properties showing. So let me show you how I can actually start to clean this up. You can wrap all the columns if you want to, or you can just choose to wrap individual ones, which I often like to do. I'm going to call this inbox, and I'm going to now go into the properties area. and you can hit hide all and then just choose the ones that you care about. So maybe tag, URL, favorite, and archive, and we could show type potentially as well. And then we could start to edit the widths here if we wanted to, just like that. And this gets us this nice little table view where we can start to process our inbox notes. So again, I'm going to add those filters, add an advanced filter. Tag should be empty, and archive is empty as well, or is unchecked. Let me go ahead and hide this. And now we've got that inbox view. So again, it's just a nice handy little page where you could come in here, you can either drag your stuff. Oops, accidentally added a cover. I don't think I want that. You could start dragging stuff from the no tag to your actual tags, or you can go to inbox if you prefer the table view and click that as well, and also mess with the rest of your properties here. Cool. All right, we're going to go back and we are going to make the archive page. So again, going back to Tiago Forte's para methodology, the archive is a place to send stuff that is just no longer relevant to your life without actually deleting it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit archive there. I've got a nice little, I think it's called archive box as the icon. Set that to full width. And I think what I'll do is, again, I'm going to try to save myself from some effort by copying a view. I'm actually going to copy this process view here, and we're just going to change the filters. So in archive, think about this for a second. What sort of filters would you use to build a view for your archived items? I'm going to get rid of this by tag view. I just want to have an inbox, or I just want to have a table view here. I'm going to call it archive. And the filter is simply going to be where archive is checked. We can get rid of the tag archive filter there. And now anything that we check off as archived, any note, is just going to come here, and it's going to leave every other part of the template. We might also want a tags, archive tags area. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll call this archive notes up here. Cool, cool. And we do the same thing with tags. So again, let's save ourselves some effort. Let's grab this view of our tags database, copy it, and paste it. I'm going to get rid of the favorites view. And in A to Z, I'm going to change this name to archive. Archive. Let's change it over to a table. And let's set our filter to archive is checked. Cool. So now anytime we archive a tag or a note, it's going to go here and it's going to leave the rest of the system. I will demonstrate that real quick by archiving our gardening tab. Now it's gone. And if I go to archive, there it is. But maybe I want to keep it, so I can unarchive it. And that is a good example of why you archive things instead of deleting things. If you change your mind, it's always in a safe place. You can go get it. I remember reading Patrick Rothfuss's book, The Name of the Wind. And there's like this giant library in the book, being as vague as possible. But it has like two sections. One's called like the stacks, and one's called like, I think it's just called the archive or something like that. And the archive is like this gigantic warehouse of musty books and things like that. And like, you almost never have to go there. But every once in a while, sometimes you got to go into the archive and you got to pull something. So we archive things. We don't delete them. We don't have to burn the papers. And then our databases page, which is just down here, that just houses our source databases. That can go there. And now we have all of our pages for our note-taking system complete, which means we can also go finish building our quick links navigation bar inside of the inbox page. So if we open this up, again, we're just using that bracket to create page mentions. And I just want to basically like replicate what we created on the main page right here, but I want to make sure that it's just links instead of creating brand new pages. So I'm going to do that with favorites. I'm going to do that with recents. I'll do it with, what's the last one? Tags. Cool, cool. And then over here, we'll do it with our special views. So noteboard, note B, there it is. Process, archive, and databases, I believe. Take this quick second while I'm going through this to clear your mind, do anything you're trying to do. If you're following along, go ahead and follow along. Archive, archive. and databases. There it is. Cool. So what this allows us to do is now copy this quick links bar and paste it throughout our template. And let's, again, try to save on effort. Let's open the sidebar so we can easily navigate to these pages and just go down the line. Paste, dismiss. There it is. Paste, dismiss. And while we're doing this, what we can also do is turn off those backlinks. I wish there was a way to keep backlinks off by default. And to keep the stream moving along, I'm not going to do this on every single page, but this is what I would do for all of these, what I'm going to call dashboard pages. They're not notes that you would be linking to and trying to see your backlinks for. They're just dashboard pages. They're like UI and software. I would do this, turning off my backlinks. All right, we have our quick links bar on recents. On tags, we have it as well. And on down the line, this is creating consistent navigation across our entire template. And you can see that I have this navigation in the sidebar on desktop. But the reason that we do this, and I don't think I'll do it on the databases page, it doesn't really need to be there. But the reason we do this is when you're on mobile or when you're on a smaller screen, maybe you've got a browser on one half and you've got your Notion on the other half, your sidebar is going to be closed. And it's just nice in those contexts to have your navigation available on all these pages. All right, let's go ahead and create buttons on these pages that will actually make cool things happen. And then we're going to take a quick break and we're going to create some more advanced views. We're going to start actually creating those tag pages that show you all of your notes in your tags. So we're going to create the buttons first in inbox. Let me look at my reference copy here just to make sure I'm doing things correctly. I think we just have one new note button here on the page here. You could also create as many buttons as you want, but I'm just going to demonstrate one. So again, we're going to do /button. I'm going to call this new note, and this will be a new note that goes to the inbox. And you might be asking yourself, well, I could easily click the new button right here and create a new note. And yes, you can. But again, what if you're on mobile? And what if the web clips tab is the one that's active? The button gives you instant one-click access to create a brand new note, and something that is a huge value for me, and I think like a core tenet of productivity and getting things done, is removing friction from as many processes as possible in your life. If there's friction involved at all, it increases the time and the energy required to do something, and the more time and energy required there is, the less often you're going to do it. That is why I keep multiple guitars around the office, because since they're sitting there, I just pick them up when I play them, and I get really freaking good at guitar. That's why I put gymnastic rings right there on the I-beam in my office. So I do pull-ups all day long, and now I'm way stronger, way better at pull-ups. If I am like, I will go to the gym and I will keep my guitar in the case humidified and take it out deliberately and play it, I'm just not going to do it that often. So when I'm designing Notion templates, I'm thinking along the same lines. How can I reduce the function or the friction involved in common actions I take? So that's why I'm using this button here called New Note, even though I have the inbox view right there as well. It just gives me a lower friction option. So I'm going to go with add a step here. I'm going to do add pages to, and we're going to select a database. What database? Our all notes database, of course. And our additional step will be open the page. And we're going to select the new page that is added, and we're going to set that to side peak. We'll hit done, and now we've got a nice little handy dandy button. We can create a new note. This is my thoughts on pigeons. More at 11. Cool. So we have a button there. Now let's go ahead and create some buttons on our individual pages. But before we do that, as my mouth gets ahead of my brain here, I'm going to delete these headings, because what I want these headings to actually do is link to those individual pages. I don't want to have to just open this and navigate to those pages. I'd like to actually have a link to those special pages as the heading, and we could do that. So leaving as a heading 1, and I'll show you how you can do this. If you get rid of the heading 1, you can just do /1. Now I can do bracket, bracket, and I can find my inbox page. And I'm not sure why there are two. Hopefully this is the right one. Yes, it is. Cool. And we can do the rest of it just the same way. Bracket, bracket, favorites. Bracket, bracket. I feel like a frog, like a ribbit. And tags. Bracket, bracket, tags. And I don't want the one in databases. I want the special tags page and noteboard. Cool. So this is looking pretty much like Ultimate Notes. pretty close. I mean, we have a few additional pieces of sample content in here. We have a couple of different additional links here. So I'll do those in a couple of seconds, but this is looking pretty darn good. We've got all of our sections. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this divider now. That was just there to create these specific rows with columns inside them instead of two giant columns. So I'm gonna get rid of those. Now things are looking nice and aesthetic. And let's see here, what else do we have to do? What else do we have to do? I think we have to add some more buttons to other pages. So for favorites, I'm gonna do the same thing. And in fact, I think we can just not duplicate effort by copying and pasting. We'll go into favorites and we'll add that button. I will do it underneath quick links actually. But within favorites, we might also want a way to just instantly make a note that is a favorite. So we can do this one more time. I'm just gonna paste it once more and I'm gonna edit this button. I'm gonna call it new favorite note. And the only change I'm gonna make here for this little automation is when we add the page to all notes, we're gonna edit another property and we're gonna do favorite is checked. So now if we add a new favorite note, you can see that it's already checked because that's the little automation that we've set up inside of our button. We will add new note once more in our recents page. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see here. Dismiss that. And then in the tags page, we want to make a new tag button so we can't copy and paste in there. We're going to actually make a button. We'll very quickly make it. So /button one more time. And actually, you know what, before I do this, I think we might want to move on to the advanced thing because we want to actually apply a template. Let me show you a super simple version of a template for a tag. We're going to take a really quick break after that, and then we'll build the full tag template. But here in our tags database, we can go to this little blue icon right here. Let me make sure my face isn't covering it. And we can create what's called a database template. So basically, if we have a template, we can create a new page in a database and we can spawn from a template basically anything we want. And we can even make that a default that just automatically gets created. So I'm going to do a new template here. I'm going to call this tag template. And for now, I'm just going to say, this is template content. Check that out. So now that we have a template that actually exists, when we create this button, we can apply that template automatically when we create the new tag, which is pretty sweet. So I'm going to call this new tag. I'm going to give it a tag icon. It's an iconic button. And then we can do add page to once again. We can select a database. This time we will select our tags database. And now because we have templates that exist in the database, we have this additional little drop down here. And we can choose which template we want to apply. Empty, which would be just a blank page, or tag template, which will actually show us everything there. Cool. I'm looking at my back channel real quick. Let's see here. That I'm not quite sure how to answer, so I'll get to that in the question and answer section. Cool, so now that we have tag template set here, we can also open the page. We're going to select new page added, side peek. Now when we hit new tag, check out what happens. We get a little spinner and boom, there's our template content. So that is another really quick way to just hit a button, create yourself a new page, and it's got all of that content from your template directly in it. And it's gonna look way cooler than this in a second because we're gonna have this kind of tag template where we have our notes, we have our favorites, we have our web clips. That's going to involve learning a little bit of advanced Notion mastery, trickery, magic, whatever you want to call it. So before we take a quick break and move on to that, I want to show you one nice little trick that I use. It's really, really simple. And that is creating additional links here in the quick links bar. So you notice here on the actual copy of Ultimate Notes, we have recents and tags here. So what I like to do is I like to do a couple of different spaces or just a couple spaces. And on Mac, I have to go slow because if you do double space really quick, you get a period. And then I do a pipe symbol, two more spaces. And now what I like to do is actually link to something. So recents, let's just do that. Add a couple of additional spaces there. Here we go. And we'll do tags as well. So again, that was the database. Don't want the database. I want the tags page. There it is. So you can see here, this is just, again, another reduction of friction. You don't have to open this up. If you got these really, really often used pages here, you're just right there. If you're on your phone, they're going to be right at the top of the page. I want to go to recents. There's recents. There it is. So I do that a lot. Okay, so I'm going to take a very quick break to go use the restroom, and then we are going to actually start building these tag pages that have all these useful sections inside of them. I don't have anything, like I don't have cool music or whatever. So what are you supposed to do as a streamer? What are you supposed to do as a streamer when when you take a break? You're supposed to play somebody else's copyrighted material, right? I'm gonna just play my own copyrighted material as a muted thing. Yeah, so let's see here. What's the most fun video? The most fun video to play while I'm on a break is obviously Skill You're Slowly Losing, because that has the coolest B-roll. So I'm gonna find that video. Where's that? It has like 800,000 views, doesn't it? This one, yeah. I'm gonna put that on. Cool. That has all the fun B-roll. All right, I'll be back in like, I don't know, a couple of seconds. I did not have time to make a BRB screen, so you get this silly thing as well. All right, be back. Oh. Okay, I'm supposed to react to this, right? Whoa, look at those blue lines. I've never heard of cognitive offloading in my life. Okay, back. Take a quick drink here. Let's see here. All right, are there any important questions while people are grabbing snacks? I do need to make a BRB screen, don't I? I'm learning this whole streaming thing. It's brand new to me. I think we've done a pretty good job. I've got a decent setup for it. Got chat right there, Notion right there, camera there, back channel over there. Doing pretty good. Okay. Any questions here? That's here. I design. The CEO shares site surveys, site photos, and project to-dos, but we find we lose data and don't share cloud space. Let's see here. I mean, I think, so for the person asking about this project management, I think Notion rocks for project management as long as you're okay with like open sharing. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but there's like not a good way to share a slice of a database. You can share specific pages. You could, remove people's access to specific pages. So that like if I had access to someone's database, but then they remove me from a page in that database, that does work. But if there's like, I only want someone to have access to the tasks that are assigned to them, Notion is still lacking that. So if that is a big need for you and your team, then other software might fit the bill, maybe Asana or something like that. But if you don't need that, then I think Notion rocks. It's this great set of tools that allows you to build a project management system that fits your needs instead of having to mold yourself to someone else's software. Okay, so I think we are gonna, let's see here. We're gonna get into some more advanced stuff. We have one question here. Is the Ultimate Brain on the website the most updated version? Yes. So the Ultimate Brain, if you're a customer and you have access to our Circle community, the link you have always clicked to get your copy of the template, it is now the most updated version of the template. We're still working on brand new tutorials, upgrade guides, stuff like that. It's a process to get all this stuff done. But the brand new version is totally updated. We do not build in AI features. And the reason for that is Notion requires you to subscribe to an add-on. I think it's like $10 per month per user for Notion AI. So whenever Notion releases a feature that is only for paid users, we typically don't build those features into our templates. Instead, you can just simply use them if you are a paid Notion user. I think the most prevalent examples of that are the new automations feature, which like database automations, and then Notion AI. It just doesn't make sense for us to build those into our templates because the vast majority of people who buy templates are not paid Notion users. They're on the free account. And I don't want to like have somebody get a template and then realize like, oh, I'm locked out of this feature that was advertised. So what we are working on doing is adding kind of like additional tutorials that teach people how to add these new features to their copy of the template. Because it's really not that hard. So for example, with like database automations, you get the template. It's about a 30-second process to build a small automation in a database view. And we have tutorials in our community guide, our community area that actually show how to do that. So for Notion AI, that could be something we could do as well. If you really wanted to have those AI database properties or you want to have like an AI button, we can just show you how to add that. And it's super duper simple, super quick. Whereas, as you're seeing, we're building a super duper simple template here compared to what Ultimate Brain is, and it's already taking quite a long time to do. So I think that's the value that we provide in our templates is we take care of a lot of the grunt work and the lengthy setup stuff that can take a long time. And then you get this great starting point that allows you to add on paid features like the AI stuff or the database automations, which is really quick and easy to do. Okay, I think hopefully people are back from their bathroom breaks. I'm back from mine. So we're going to get into what I'm going to call the 102 portion of this stream because building this requires a little bit of additional knowledge that we haven't covered yet. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover it slowly and thoroughly. Again, this is the stream version. This is where we can get into the questions and we can take as much time as we want. As long as I don't fall asleep or the power doesn't go out in the building. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a template that looks kind of like this. So for one of your tag pages inside of your note-taking system, you want to be able to see the notes that are related to your tag. And you want to also be able to see some favorites. You want to see web clips, all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and build a template in our tags database that will do this. So back over in our little build copy here, we're going to go to tags and we've already started creating a tag template. I'm going to go ahead and delete it and I'm going to make a brand new version because people might be coming into this late or they might not have seen me build that. So I'm going to start this from scratch. Okay. So under my tags database view, I can do it anywhere I want. I can go to this little blue arrow and I can hit new template here. And again, this is going to be a template that can be applied to brand new pages inside of this database view. So I'm going to call this tag template. I'm going to open this as a full page and we're going to start creating our layout here. Again, we have a 2-column layout. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a fully customized page. I'm going to turn off backlinks. Don't want them. Don't want any of that stuff. And most importantly, I'm going to set this to be full width. So now I can come here and I can, I'll first make my quick links bar. We're going to add stuff to that later. But I'm going to do 2C, so /2C for 2 columns beneath this. And then I'm going to start creating my column layouts. So we'll do /1 for heading 1. I'm going to say, I think it's tag notes. Over here, we'll do tag favorites. So /1 for heading 1 again, tag favorites. And then I'm going to enter down a couple of times and do 1 for web clips. And did I call it all tag? I'm not sure if I did. Just tag favorites. Cool. So we'll get rid of tag notes. Set that to notes instead. Okay. So what we're going to have to do in here is, again, create database views, but we have to filter them so that it's only going to show us notes that are related to a specific tag. So let's go ahead and do that here in the notes area. I'll do /list one more time. That'll get us a list view. We do want to make a view of the all notes database. Again, we're trying to show notes from our notes database just inside of a tag page. So we'll do all notes, a new empty view that gives us a list view. I'm going to hide that database title, keep that on side peak. Good. And then really the secret sauce here, the magic, and one of my favorite building techniques in Notion at all is right here. And that's called a self-referential filter. So if we go to filters here, I'm going to add an advanced filter. This is really what drives this here. If I add where tag contains tag template, then anytime I make a new tag page, so say gardening or SaaS or marketing, and I apply this template, this filter right here is going to get updated to reflect that new page. So if I made, say, a gardening page, this filter would say gardening instead of tag template. This is called a self-referential filter. You can use it with relation properties, and you can also use it with roll-up properties. I'm hoping in the future we can do it with formula properties as well, but currently can't. So right now we have some limitations, but this is still super duper powerful. And the reason is, again, when I create that, say, gardening or SaaS page, all these filters that are using the template as a target are going to get updated to that brand new page. So any notes related to gardening or SaaS, they're going to be there without us having to manually update that filter. So that is the main filter there. The other one we're going to add, again, because we are building a whole archive functionality into our note-taking system. Archive is unchecked, and that should be it. We'll go ahead and sort by last edit time. That's my favorite kind of sort. And now we have the notes area. Once again, we can just start copying and pasting. So I'm going to hold Option. I'm going to grab that and drag it over here, and we can make our tag favorites by just basically adding one more filter where favorite is checked. And for this view, I am going to get rid of the sort because I do want to be able to manually drag and drop my favorites. And then for web clips, we'll do it one more time. Drag and drop over there. And we're going to add a filter where URL, hopefully I'm not covering this up with my face. No, I'm not. Where URL is not empty. Cool. And then in notes, because we want to separate web clips out here, we do want to add that URL is empty as well. Whew. And that, my friends, is just about it. If we look at our SaaS sort of example tag here, we do see we have a new note and we have a quick links bar. We have a simplified version of quick links where we're just using the table of contents there. So let's go ahead and create those real quick, and then that will basically be it. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, we have A to Z and by type. So we'll add those as well. And we're going to come back in a little bit to add this by site web clip thing. That's a bit of an advanced feature that's going to get into our formula section. So we'll do that in a little bit later on. Oh my goodness, somebody called me Bob Ross. Did you know that my wife, when I said I was going to be the Bob Ross of Notion, she's like, you just don't have the voice, Tom. You don't have the voice. And you don't have happy little trees in the background of your Notion templates. So you can't do it. They've proved her wrong. I am the Bob Ross of Notion, just without the afro. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our quick links bar here. This is a cool little trick. In quick links, if you do /TOC, you get yourself a table of contents. Now, why is this useful? Well, again, on mobile, when you're using a page on mobile, all of these multi-column layouts are going to get squished down to a single column. And if you have a lot of notes, it could be a lot of scrolling to find it. But if you're on mobile, you can easily click one of these and it's just going to take you directly to it. Here you can see it is highlighting it, but because everything's on the page, it's not going to zoom me down. Maybe if I get it there. There we go. Yep, it just zooms you down. So really handy little trick on mobile. And then in that quick links bar, we also linked to Ultimate Notes, the dashboard, and our tags page. Let's go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to make this bold, and then I'm going to space. I don't want the period there. Make a little pipe symbol, another space, and I'm going to do 4 spaces pipe symbol. That way I can come in here, and I can do bracket, Ultimate Notes. Hey, look, there it is. And I can do bracket after my spaces on this pipe and do tags. Oops. Cool. And then we'll do a new note button in here. And this is going to actually show how we can set specific tag values in our button automations. So if we do a new button here, we'll do a new note. And if we're creating a new note in a tag page, we would want that tag applied to that note. So the way we're going to do that is by actually adding a property to our new database page. We'll do new note, add a step, add a page 2. We've done this before. We'll do all notes database. The name, we do not want to set a title, but because we're in this tag page, we want to edit another property, choose tag. And now we have this page. This is the one dynamic value we currently get with buttons. And this is going to propagate over to our actual tag pages. So say we're on a gardening page, this page will reference gardening. And if we create a brand new note, it's going to have that gardening tag. So that's all we need there. We'll add another step, which is open the page in side peek. And when we create a, opening page is missing target page. I should do that. Yeah. New page added is what we want. Cool. When we create an actual tag from this, you'll be able to see how it works. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to Ultimate Notes. One thing that I like to do when I have a template that I know is always going to be applied to something I'm working on is I set it as the default. So here in A to Z, I can go here and find that template. And if I hit the 3 dot button here, I can actually set this as a default. And now you get this little option here. If you want to add this as the default for all views in the tags database or just in this A to Z view. Because I want this to always be applied to every page, I'm going to choose all views. But if you were building a database with multiple different templates, for example, like your notes database might have like a journal template, a recipe template, etc., then you wouldn't want to make one of them the default for every view of the database. That wouldn't make sense. Here for tags, it does make sense because we always want to apply that same template. So I'll do all views and tags. Now I have that there. If I go to favorites, you should see that that is also the default. And if we create ourselves a sample tag, let's just call this one, I don't know, anime. And then we open it up, we're going to get that template applied. And now if I create a brand new note in here, look at that. Let's just call this, I don't know, the philosophy of serial experiment lane. This is probably my favorite anime, but I don't know if I'll ever watch it again because it was kind of depressing. But yeah, like now it just automatically goes there because look at that. Oh, not there. It's here. It just automatically has that tag applied because of the settings we had in the button, which is pretty sweet. Another cool thing you can do, and this is actually something that people will need to know if they are ever transferring from one template to another, is we can go into an existing page, and if we delete all the content on the page, now we get the option of applying a template. And so there's a sort of delineation between when you should and shouldn't do this. If I had just like literally written content on this page and I deleted it and I respawned from the template, I'm not going to get that content back. Note how this little blah, 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 I'm like Steve Carell and Bruce Almighty. It will not be there when I regenerate. However, all of the note views with the actual notes that belong in this tag are going to be there because they're just pulling from a set of filters. So that is sort of how you know when you should or shouldn't do that. If you have literally written content onto the page, deleting that content and respawning from your template is not going to save that content. You might want to copy it to your clipboard or move it or something first. But if it is just a set of linked databases like this, and that's how I tend to design templates, you can always just delete that stuff and respawn from your template if you make changes to it. So that is kind of like the first step to building out the more advanced parts of this template. Now we have the ability to just create these tags and spawn new pages from the template just like that. And if you wanted to quit here, you absolutely could, because that is pretty much like, I would say 95% of the structure of this template. So the nerds among you, and I count myself among you, my brethren, the nerds among you might be asking, okay, well, hey, Tom, what else is in this template that is not currently being represented here? Because this looks an awful lot like the finished Ultimate Notes here. Well, that comes down to a couple of different formula properties we have. So we're getting into the nerdy section. We're getting into the advanced section. But if you want to follow me on this wonderful journey into this Willy Wonka-esque world of formulas, then you can do that. So what can formulas get us that makes this template better? Well, here is an example of what a formula can do. We have this SAS tag here, and this is showing us the latest note that we've worked on inside of that tag. So imagine we had tons and tons and tons of notes inside of our SAS tag, and maybe we haven't even used it for a while. So maybe none of those notes are showing up here in recents, but we want to see the note that was most recently edited here. We can do that with a formula, and we can even open it in SidePeek just like that. So that is an example of one thing a formula can do. We also have this little 0 days thing here. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit to show you a little bit closer of a look. This shows us how many days it's been since this note was edited. And I think that's a nice little thing to have in a reasons view. So that's a formula that I wrote to do that as well. And I think we also had one other formula. So we have note count, we have latest note date, and we have latest note, which is the most complicated one. So before we get into this, I think I want to do a quick little spiel for the people who don't care about this, and I want to answer a quick round of questions if I can, if there's anything I need to answer, because this next part is going to be fairly advanced, and I just want to tell people, like, if you don't care about it like this, you're basically done. So yeah, you're basically done. You have a full featured note-taking system. You've got your inbox, you have your favorites, you have your recents, you have your tags. If you've been with me since this stream started, you have learned a whole lot. You've learned how to create pages, multi-column layouts. You've learned how to customize your pages and what's on them, turning off comments, all kinds of stuff like that. You've learned to create databases, linked views of those databases. You have learned to copy and paste different views to cut down on your duplicated effort. We've learned about self-referential filters and database templates. We've learned a heck of a lot in this stream. So what we're going to be moving into after this is those final formulas that might actually take a little bit of time to do, but they're adding the last like 5% to the template, the real sweet stuff, the stuff that like we go above and beyond to add. So we're going to get that into a second. One thing that I'm going to mention before we do that is over on my website, thomasjfrank.com. Well, not this one. This is the subdomain for support. We have a full templates page. So if you go over here to Notion templates and you go to all Notion templates, this new note-taking template is currently down here. I'm going to move it up because I have a brand new one now, but you'll find ultimate note-taking template for Notion. I'm going to update the little cover image to look more like, well, I guess the caching has still not updated for me. There it is. It'll look more like this when you're done. If you want this as a template, if you want us to just do it for you, then you can get it for free. Go right down here. If you want to join our Notion Tips newsletter, you can do that before getting the template. That's going to get you email notifications when I'm going to stream. It's going to get you notifications for new tutorials that we're working on, for new templates we're working on, all kinds of cool stuff. So if you are interested in learning Notion, mastering it, using it for yourself, for your company, you definitely want to be on our Notion Tips newsletter. However, the way that I do my lead magnets email marketing thing is if you don't want to be in the newsletter, go to this no thanks, just give me the template button right there. And that's going to take you directly to the template. You can duplicate it. You can use it for yourself. If you want a full productivity system for Notion, if you want task management, project management, goal tracking, you want useful dashboards for planning your day, for planning the next few quarters of your year, and you want this note-taking system perfectly integrated into all of that to have one-stop shop for your entire productive life inside of Notion, that's where Ultimate Brain comes in. You can go right there, get Ultimate Brain. We have a coupon code right now. Let's go 2023. I think Marissa can pop that into the chat. Maybe she already has. So that is the template that really brings all that together. That has been my labor of love ever since I started using Notion. I wanted to build a one-stop shop for personal productivity, and that is exactly what Ultimate Brain is. And like I said before, Ultimate Notes, the free notes template, is basically like a sort of stripped down version of the notes template that is already inside of Ultimate Brain. So if you've been following along and you like this and you want to also do task management, this is going to be very familiar, because what's in Ultimate Brain is basically this with a few extra bells and whistles, a recipe tracker, book tracker, all kinds of cool stuff. Okay. So we're going to get into the fun stuff now. I've been streaming for 2 hours and 17 minutes. And if I go at this pace for the formula stuff, we might be here for 4 hours. So I'm going to probably try to pick up the pace a little bit. But what I will say before we get into these formulas that add these extra features is, number one, on the channel already, over on Thomas Frank Explains, I need to find it real quickly, we have a big video going over Formulas 2.0. And I also have a siren behind me that seems to be driving at 2 miles per hour. So right here, Notion Formulas 2.0 Masterclass. This came out. I decided to build one big monster formula in this video. So you can use that. It still goes at a pretty slow pace, and I try to explain everything as well as I can. If you want to learn Notion Formulas 2.0, use that for now. Over on the website, we also have, under this Learn Notion area, a Notion Formulas guide. This thing is massive. Every single function, every single operator, everything we have a reference page for. We have example formulas for them. Basically everything here, like, it's a full technical reference for Notion formulas. And then at some point in the near future, I do want to do a stream going over Notion formulas from the absolute basics, turning it into a class, just like I've done here, basically. So if you want to know, if you want to, get notified for that, I'm going to do it. I was about to say, like, let me know if you want to see it. I'm just going to do it. I want to do it. But if you want to know when that's going to happen, make sure you're joining that newsletter, Learn Notion newsletter right there. You can get on it. Okay. We're going to get into some fun Notion formula stuff. I'm going to really turn up the Bob Ross here because we're getting into basically programming. But it's going to be fun. Okay, so let's look at our Ultimate Notes reference. I want to go into the databases really quick, and I want to see exactly the formulas that I added here. I'm not quite sure that I added any formulas to the notes database. Nope, I didn't. It's all in the tags database. So let's quickly review what we're going to add and why. So we have a latest note date, and this is basically just going to get us the date of the latest note that is in a specific tag, and it's going to show us when it was edited. We have a note count area, and this is basically going to show us how many notes are in a tag, and it also has some nice little styling there. And then the big one is the actual latest note. We are going to find it and show it, and that is going to allow us to link directly to our latest note on each and every tag page, which I think is super duper nice. So I'm going to keep that database open as a reference while we build these. And I think we're going to start with note count first. Actually, it does occur to me we do have, I think we have one actual property in the notes database that is also a formula. It just might not be showing here. Yeah, let me look quick at the properties. You know what? I just realized we have some additional properties here. Let me go ahead and show all of these in here so we can see them real quick. So we have edited. This is also a formula. In fact, this one is actually pretty simple. We might do this one first. We have duration in seconds. Oh, we have base URL. Actually, we have a few here. This one, I might not try to explain. This one is tough. We're just going to paste it. So again, you can always duplicate the template, and then you can just like grab these formulas all you want. Let's start with edited. So edited is going to allow us to like have a little 0 days, 1 day, 2 days thing here, showing us the age of any note in our recents area. And that's just going to be a little formula property. So in here, I'm just going to open up all my properties. I'm going to add a property, and this one's going to be a formula. And now if we open up actually I want to give it a name. So I'm going to give it, I think it's edited. Yep. And if I open the editor, is my face covering everything else? Yes. So I'm going to switch over to this view really quick. Cool. And now we can actually start to create a formula here. And basically what we want to do is get the last edited date. So basically we're gonna get the date between the last edited time and now, and then we're gonna style it. That's it. So there's a nice little function called date between. This just gets the number of units between two different dates, and you can specify the units as days or weeks or months. So we're gonna do date between, and the date on the first argument, so I think we're gonna do now, is gonna be the later date. So we're gonna do now, and then we can find that last edited time property, and then our other argument is gonna be days. So now I get 0, and now I can do plus D, and that just gets us 0D. So that's literally it. And then we just add some styling, but here it is 0D, just like that. And if the last edited time for this note was a day ago or 2 days ago, we'd see 2D or 1D. We can also add some styling. So I'm gonna put this in brackets or in parentheses, and then we can do dot style, and we get B for bold. We can do C for code, and I think I'm gonna do blue background as well. There's a whole bunch of arguments here. And again, we have all this stuff in our Notion formula reference if you're confused, but that gets us a nice little styled blue 0 days. So that was our first formula. I'm gonna go ahead and hide it here always. I don't wanna see it there. But then on our recents area, we can go into our properties, and we can find that edited property, and we can show it just like that. So now we can see just how many days it's been since we've edited each of these notes here. And we could do that to all of our other views as well. I'm not gonna do that to all of them. Again, this is a tutorial stream. If you want the full template, it's already built for you. But that is how you would do that, and that's how you'd add your first formula. Another one, I think I'm gonna skip over to base URL because I think it's a really fun one. It's also very complicated because it uses regular expressions. But let me show you a cool little thing here. So let's just go into the anime tag here, and let's make a couple of web clips. So I'm gonna make a new note. We're gonna call this anime review. I don't know. And let's say this came from, the URL of this was collegeinfogeek.com/anime review. I don't know. We don't have that URL. And then I had another note, and this one was called like, on upcoming anime. And this was like at animenews.com/upcoming. What we can do is we can build a formula that will actually get this specific like base URL here. So like animenews.com or collegeinfogeek.com. We can get those separated, and then we can group our web clips by those base URLs. So if you were doing tons of research and like you grabbed 5 articles from Farnham Street or something like that, you could easily create like a little Farnham Street area in your web clips, and it's going to show you all of your clips from farnhamstreet.com separated from anything else, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to do that by creating a base URL property. So again, this is a formula. We're going to call it base URL. And I'm just going to paste that one in there. You can grab this from the template. You can see it here. Basically, what this is doing is using a complicated regular expression to take a URL, and it's getting just that base URL. So google.com, collegeinfogeek.com, everything else is stripped out. So we're going to do that. If you are curious, there's a whole regular expressions guide in the Notion formula reference, but we're very, very into advanced territory here, specifically for this stream. So I'm just going to paste it there and show you what it does. And there you can see animenews.com is the base URL for this animenews.com/upcoming. For this one right here, or the other one, collegeinfogeek.com/anime review, we just get collegeinfogeek.com as our base URL. So what we can do there is we can create ourselves another view of this web clips area. And I'm going to call it by URL, or by base, actually, by base URL. And then there's a group option for databases, and I'm going to find that base URL, and I'm going to group by that. And then I'm going to go ahead and hide no base URL because we don't need that. And now you can see we have these toggleable groups. So if I'm capturing tons and tons of stuff from collegeinfogeek.com, it's going to come into this group and I can just toggle it closed. So, not super useful when we only have a couple of different web clips here, but if we have tons and tons and tons of web clips, then this becomes really useful because we can just find the specific site that we're looking for in this tag. And then our regular list one just has all of them sorted really, really easy. So that's our base URL. Again, we're kind of going a little faster here. I also want to do duration and AI cost. So one thing, and I'll show this out on the channel one more time. We have this whole tutorial here on how you can take voice notes with your phone, and you can basically just like talk to your phone for half an hour. I often go for very long walks and I'll just brain dump stuff, and you can get a full transcript of that. You can get a full summary. You can get a list of action items, main points. It's a fantastic workflow for if you're a researcher, you're a content creator, you're just trying to brain dump ideas on the go. It's a fantastic workflow for getting all of that into Notion as perfect notes. This whole video will show you how to do it, how to set it up extremely easily. I spent like 4 months this year coding this. And so one thing I like to add into my templates is a property that's going to show me the duration as well as the AI cost here. So we have a voice note right here. The duration of this was 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And I think if I go down here, I can even see the AI cost as well was about 2 cents for this whole process. So I get to record my notes, my voice for 3 minutes, 41 seconds. And it costs me, or I guess I didn't fill it in there, but it cost me, 2.5 cents to get that perfectly transcribed and summarized. And we even break it down by transcription cost and API cost. So transcription is the vast majority of the cost here, 2.2 cents, big spender here. And then 0.003 cents, or I guess, so $0.003, so 0.3 of a cent to do the summaries. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty sweet workflow. You don't have to use it, but it is indispensable for me. And I like to have those duration and AI cost properties there. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my notes database here. And again, you can add notes to any database or to any page in that database. You can add properties to it, and that's going to apply to the entire database. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple, and I'll just go in here to add them. One is going to be a number type property, and it's going to be called duration in seconds. And this is actually how, oh, yep, I did it again. Whoopsie. I sometimes forget to switch back to the screen. Okay, so I'm gonna make one more property called duration in seconds. And that will be the duration of an audio file in seconds. And my script that I just shared will actually get that duration and we'll put it in that property. And then we can create a formula property that will transform our duration in seconds, so say like 200 seconds, into an actual format that we can read like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So we're going to do that by adding a formula property called duration. For this one, I will give it a little stopwatch icon. I think that's a pretty good icon for this. Look at that. And then we can go ahead and start filling in our formula, which I'm just going to paste because it's kind of a doozy of a formula. First, let's put in a value here. Let's do, 1,506 seconds. This is a super long audio file. And if I go into my actual template here and grab my duration formula, We can just copy and paste it, and I can paste it in here, and we'll be able to actually see how it translates. So 25 minutes and 6 seconds. If you want to check this out, if you want to look over it, feel free. I'm not going to go over it too much in this video, but basically we're just doing a little bit of division and modulus arithmetic to get the number of seconds and divide it into the number of hours, the number of minutes, the number of seconds. And then here, I think we're just doing some, so we're adding zeros. So in case it was like 9 seconds instead of 19 seconds, we'll add a 0. That way we always get this nice formatting where it's like 00, 25, 06, which is how clocks work. So zooming out a little bit, we also have an AI cost property. I'm going to add that just as a number type property. And again, if you're using this workflow, you can pick that property in the setup and it'll show you how much money it cost to do the AI voice transcription thing. And that might be all the formulas that we had in the notes database. I think it is. Cool. So to finish this up, we're going to go to our tags database and we're going to add those formulas. And then we'll adjust a couple of different properties to benefit from those formulas and we'll be good to go. So did we already do note count? That is a question. I don't think we did. So we need to get back to a tag. We're on a tag page, anime. And again, we can add a property to a tag page, and that is going to add the property to the actual database for all pages involved. So we're going to add one more formula here. And I need to reference what it was called quick. Note count. Cool, cool, cool. Note count. I'm going to find the, is it pound sign or number sign? Number sign for that one there. And let's take a quick look at what this formula actually looks like. So we're defining a variable. And I might just copy and paste it here. I think I might save a lot of this formula stuff for the formula stream because we are going up on 2.5 hours and my voice is threatening to give out. So I think I'm just going to copy this in here, let you quickly look at it. And sometimes when you copy and paste your formulas from one tablet to another, sometimes these references are going to not come in. They're going to have a red underline. So sometimes I have to delete them and grab them. I think in this case, it's because I named the database differently. But you can see here, now that we have this formula, we can see we have 3 notes in this tag. And is that true? Yes, it is. 1, 2, 3. And now we have that. So if we go back to our Ultimate Notes dashboard, we can go to this little view right here and we can go to properties and we can actually show our note count just like that. That's super duper cool. Another formula we had in there was our latest note date. And I think we just used this for sorting another view we're going to create for tags. So again, I'm going to copy this. And this one, I think this one is actually quick enough that I can teach it. So I'm going to teach this one and then we'll do a full formula stream. Don't you worry. But I'm going to teach this one. So last edited date, we're going to make a formula property. We're going to call this last edited date. And this is going to get the date of the note, the edited date of the last note in this tag that was edited. So basically the most recent note in this tag. So to create this, we need to basically map through our notes relation. So if we go to all notes, there we go. We can use this little function called map. And that notes, the Notion Formulas 2.0 video I did already, this goes very heavily into what map does. It is probably the most powerful function that is in Formulas 2.0. So watch this if you are curious about how this is going to work. But we are going to just use this map function to basically get into our all notes relation. And you can see here, these are all the notes that are actually related to this page. So philosophy of, anime review, upcoming anime, all notes. If I just use the current keyword here, you're going to see all 3 of those are showing out. So basically map is going through a list and it's going to perform some kind of function on every element in that list and then return a new list. So if I just use current, then the function that's being performed is kind of nothing. It just returns the exact list. But if I get into something specific like current dot and I can get last edited time, well, now I'm getting a list of those last edited times. Look at that. And then if I pipe the result, this resulting list into a function like sort, it's going to sort it chronologically. So now I have 1:21 p.m., 1:22 p.m., 1:27 p.m. And then if I do reverse, I'm going to get the most recently edited note as the first one. And then I'm just going to do first. And that gets me the last edited date of the last note. So cool. And I'm trying to remember what I use that for. It's kind of funny. Like sometimes you spend so much time designing something and then you're trying to teach it and you're like, what did I use that for? So I'm going to look at my recent tag here. And yes, latest note date, I did do that. So that is exactly what I was using it for. Cool. So we can go ahead and do that. We built this last edited date to essentially sort a recents view for our tags. So if we go back to Ultimate Notes dashboard, we can see in our tags area, we have an A to Z. So this is just going to show all of our tags in alphabetical order. We have a favorites tag or a tab that is going to show us only the tags we have marked as favorites. But we might want to show our tags and sort them by the last edited note within each one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by duplicating our A to Z view here. I'm going to call this one Recents. Let's give it a clock icon. Make it iconic. Not a star icon, a clock icon. And now we can sort it by, instead of name, last edited date descending. And you can see our anime one is the last tag that had a note that was edited, so it is now at the top. And I think that is pretty useful. One question here, do you think that rollup is useless now? It actually isn't. We went through a concept called self-referential filters earlier in the stream. You can check that out later on. Hopefully we can get some timestamps in the replay. And rollups can still be used with self-referential filters, and self-referential filters are what allow us to have these automated filtered views. So inside of a tag page, like only the notes that are actually part of this tag are showing up. You can do that also with rollups. You can't yet do it with formulas. So that is one reason why rollups are still quite useful. Until formulas can do that, rollups are still going to have a great place in Notion. Okay, so now we have that last edited date, and then I think we have one other really big formula to add, and that was the actual last edited note. So we're going to copy this. Again, this is a big one. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, and we might be able to go through this one in a future stream about formulas. Again, yeah, I see like the teeth or fingernail biting emojis in the chat going on. Yeah, these formulas can be intimidating. I totally get it. So we're just going to copy and paste in this stream, and we'll cover them more in depth in a future stream. And again, we also have that full formula reference, but I'm going to add this one. I'm going to call it last note for now. Actually, I'm going to get the formula type, last note. And we will paste this bad boy in. I think I will have to fix it a little bit. Yes, I will. So I'm going to get all these notes references and change them to all notes, because that is what the reference is called here. Will that fix it? Could not find function last. That's interesting. We may actually have to rebuild it. We'll see. We might have to rebuild it. Okay, I guess I'm signing myself up for rebuilding it. That's cool. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to do it, because for whatever reason, unless maybe it's this current keyword right here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's something. It's last edited time. That's what it is. Will that fix it? That fixed it. Okay, cool. All right, so now you can see, all right, last note, philosophy of serial experiments lane. If I go in here and edit one of these, let's just add some stuff. Boom, upcoming anime. Now that is the last note. So that is what this formula is doing. Without going too much into what the syntax is doing, it essentially is going into our all notes relation. So again, any note that is related to this tag, in this case we have 3, it is finding the one where the last edited time is the most recent. And it's basically getting that, it's getting the ID of that page, and then we are sorting, reversing, we're grabbing the first and the last, and that's what we're doing. So again, we'll go through this in a future stream. This is very advanced level stuff, but what this gets us is our last edited note per tag. And then what that allows us to do is go back to our dashboard and add that as a property here on this tags list here. So if I go into my properties and I add last note, and I think I'm going to put it before note count, check that out. Now, right in our notes dashboard, we have a link to our last edited note. So you can go into a tag and you can find what you're looking for, or you could just easily click the last edited note and there it is. Again, it's all about reducing friction and getting into where you're trying to get to with your note-taking system as quickly as possible. So my friends, I am tired. This has been 2.5 hours of streaming. This has been fun though. And we now have a fully functional advanced note-taking system inside of Notion with all of these great sections. You can easily favorite notes, you can add them to tags, you can sort by your recents, you can capture web clips, all that good stuff. So if you want to build this yourself, again, the replay for this stream is going to be available on my channel. I will eventually turn this into a more polished video where I'm kind of going through things a little bit faster, but you'll be able to like not have to go through the breaks and the question and answer sections and things like that. So I'll have that as well. additionally, if you want us to just do this for you, again, as a reminder, we have a couple of different templates for you. So number one, if you just go to the Notion templates section of my website, thomasjfrank.com, go to all Notion templates, you can find the ultimate note-taking template for Notion. I'll probably move this higher up on the page after the stream is done. That will get you the template for free. If you want to, you can join our Notion Tips newsletter, which I highly recommend joining if you want lots of other freebies. If you want to get notified when I'm doing new streams, new tutorials, making new templates, you can get on that newsletter. It's totally free. Or you can just hit no thanks, give me the template, and you can get this template fully built for you. Just add it to your Notion workspace with the duplicate button right there. And then if you want a full productivity system, once again, you can go over to thomasjfrank.com/brain or go to that little Notion templates mega menu, and you can get Ultimate Brain. Basically the exact same note-taking system we just built is in Ultimate Brain with some additional features. There's a daily journal feature. So if you want to journal, it's built in there for you. There's a recipe book. My wife and I have like a whole database of recipes that we use for cooking at home in there. We have a book, we have like a book notes tracker, all kinds of cool stuff there. And then we also have deep integration with project management, task management, goal tracking, all kinds of cool stuff. So if you want to say, go into a project page and you want to be able to see both the notes and the tasks. In fact, let me show you really quick, show, don't tell. If I go over to my template demos space, while this motorcyclist goes by me really, really loudly, I can go to my demos here. And if I go to say my projects page, we have projects. And for, let's say, Las Vegas trip, we have this whole page for managing this entire project. So hiding all those properties, you got your tasks and you have your notes. And again, they open in Sidepeak. So you can very easily take your notes related to a project. And then as you're doing that, if a task comes to mind, boom, add it to your tasks database right there. And of course, it's going to show up in your task manager. You got everything there. You have all these views for managing everything in your life when the time is right for managing that specific thing. So yeah, thomasjfrank.com/brain is where you can get that template if you want to manage your personal productivity in Notion. If you also want to support the work that my team and I are doing, we're building all kinds of free, streams and content and trainings and all kinds of stuff. This is what supports our business, our premium templates. So if it's for you, check it out. If it's not, use the free templates. The other thing I'll mention is the app that we're working on. It's called Flylighter. You can go over to flylighter.com to check that out. This is going to be the most powerful web clipper, information capture tool, and idea capture tool for Notion that you have ever seen. I hired a developer over a year ago with a much simpler and stripped down idea for a web clipper. And what we've ended up building instead is just absolutely amazing. It is like the best tool I've ever seen for capturing web data. It has this amazing element selector, highlight tools. There's like shortcuts built into there. So we have a wait list right now. We're going to be releasing the browser extension as soon as we possibly can, maybe even within the next few weeks. We'll see. And then we also have an iPhone app in the works. I have the test flight on my phone right now. We actually have a working app. So very soon there's going to be a whole, you can get a Flylighter account. You'll be able to sync all of your flows between mobile and between browser, all kinds of stuff. And it's just going to be the best idea and knowledge capture tool you've ever seen, with emphasis on allowing you to send stuff instantly to the tools you're already using instead of being another app where it's like, that's where you capture the stuff. I don't like that personally. Okay, so I'm gonna answer a few more questions before I sign off here. Will there be an Android version of Flylighter? We would love to do it. Transparently, we're going to focus on iOS for a little bit before getting into Android. The reason for that is Android is it's just such a bigger ecosystem of devices. So you've got, dozens and dozens and dozens of different device types. And even though we are using a cross-platform web framework for this app, we looked at all the different options and determined that you don't really need native code for an app like this. It's still a lot harder to get it working seamlessly and have a really good user experience on Android because you have that huge disparity of different devices out there compared to iOS. So what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be as open as possible with this whole journey as I can, is we're going to focus on browser and iOS first. We're going to focus on getting our initial first batch of customers for the premium tier we're going to launch. And that will allow us to build sustainable monthly revenue to pay my developers. And then we'll be able to actually focus on an Android version safely, knowing we've already validated the product and have users who are paying on iOS and browser. We're going to have a really powerful free version as well, but there will be advanced workflows, advanced tools, and all kinds of cool stuff that the pro version will have, and it'll be available for a very reasonable price. That's all I can say right now. But yes, we will have an Android version as soon as we possibly can. I am pushing for a suite of tools that you have on all of your devices that allows you to instantly capture ideas and knowledge to your second brain. That is my mission. So Android, yes. Raycast extension, yes. Some kind of desktop extension at some point, yes. So yeah. We don't know yet about pricing. Like, again, this is very, very early days for us. We've been building this in stealth for a year. We are now figuring out marketing, product market fit, all the startup stuff that, a lot of founders have to figure out on the fly. So, I can't give you all the details yet, but if you get on the waitlist over at flyletter.com, you will be kept in the loop and you'll get access as soon as possible. So that's about all I have to say about that for now. Thank you as always for watching. If you've been hanging out with me for 2.5 hours, seriously, like that's amazing. I'm going to leave, a couple of minutes here at the end. If there are any additional questions, get your questions into the chat now while I'm here hanging out with you. Otherwise, I'm always on Twitter at Tom Frankly. You can ask me questions there. If you are an Ultimate Brain customer or a Creator's Companion customer, maybe you're a content creator like me, you'll also have access to our support area inside of Circle. So there's all kinds of cool stuff there. So yeah, just checking the chat here. It will be good if highlighting doesn't get lost even after the site updates. Yeah, so that was one of my original ideas. So to give you the history on Flyletter, one thing I've always wanted, and if you watch some older videos on my channel, my main channel, you'll have known this. I've always wanted the ability to highlight text on a web page. And, say it's a blog post that I'm researching or something like that. I've always wanted to highlight text on a web page, send that highlight to Notion. But then if I go back to that web page, I really want to see that highlight there still. So that is one thing we are working on with Flyletter. It is not a trivial problem to solve, actually, especially with the approach we're trying to take where we don't try to retain too much data. There's going to be some data that the extension will have to retain to enable certain functionality, like a capture history. So you can easily highlight stuff later on, send it to the same capture instead of capturing another page in Notion. But for the most part, like we don't want to retain more data than we need to. So with that challenge in place, we had to figure out like, how do you actually show a highlight on a web page and have it stick there even when the page is reloaded. And Eli, our main developer, is absolutely genius with JavaScript and coding in general. He figured out like an amazing way to do it. So once we have the bugs sort of worked out of that method, we are going to have that functionality. And I'm going to be one happy content creator because that's one thing I've always wanted, be able to highlight, snip highlights, get the little highlights in my Notion notes, but then be able to go back to the web page and see the context of the highlight, see the text around the highlight that I didn't choose to highlight. Another big thing we're doing is YouTube notes. So another thing that I've always wanted is to be able to very easily take notes from a YouTube video and append the timestamp of what the note is talking about to the note. We've got that in Flyletter as well. So again, flyletter.com, sign up for the waitlist. Seriously. We have a little survey when you sign up. It will ask you some questions like, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you have this app do? Please answer those because we want to make this app as good as possible for everyone. So let us know what it is that you want, what your pain points and frustrations are with current tools, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see here. One more question here. I paid for the template. How to update it? How do I join the Circle service? If you don't know how to get into Circle, community.thomasjfrank.com is the way to get into. You can email us if you need help, but that is how you get into it. And you should have a login already. Basically, right when you purchase our templates, it just sends you right to a confirmation page with that invite link to Circle. So if you never created one, you probably don't have the template either. But if you do and just didn't get a Circle account created, you can email us if you have any questions. And I think Marissa can pop our email in the chat in case you need that. One person saying, I'd love to be able to send someone to a website and them to be able to see what I highlighted for them. That's actually a really cool idea. Let me capture that real quick and pop it into our Slack because I don't think that's an idea that has been brought up yet, but that's actually a very good idea. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure we capture that. I'm not sure how technically feasible it's going to be, so can't make any promises, but that's a really cool idea, and I think it should be possible. So famous last words for tech founders. I think it should be possible, but I do think it is possible. Okay. Let's see here. Is there a way to connect Notion to ChatGPT so you can do the prompts and get the results while staying in Notion? Let me think through that from an engineer's perspective. The easy way is you just pay for Notion AI because that literally just puts that into Notion as a product. If you literally wanted to connect Notion specifically to ChatGPT and have it do stuff in the app, I think what you would have to do is build an automation, which I would use Pipedream for, you'd have to build an automation that basically like pulls your Notion database for changes, like a specific kind of change. Like say it's, you have like a prompt property in a database, like you're pulling your Notion database for changes to pages that have that prompt property. And then once it sees a prompt there, then you could kick off an automation to ChatGPT and you could have the answer go into there. I think it would be slow. It would be kind of hard to build, but I do think it would be possible. But again, like the easy way to do that is just get Notion AI. Or if you just want to use ChatGPT, use ChatGPT either through Raycast or just via the ChatGPT website. That's what I do. It's cool. Yeah, I'm going to end this in about 1 minute so I can go on and do some additional work for the day. If there are any other questions, this is last call. Last call for a big, tall glass of question. I see somebody's like, not sure if this has already been asked, but I don't see the question, so I'll wait for the question. I don't know if there's anything I can do to fill dead air. I could like do the Charleston dance or something. Yeah, we got all kinds of cool stuff. I think I clicked the wrong button. I don't know what I did there. All right. Have you done anything with handwriting recognition or speed typing? Well, I don't know what you mean by speed typing. Handwriting recognition, I haven't delved too far into this yet, but I heard that iOS now has like a built-in handwriting feature that is app agnostic. It's like literally built into iOS where you can write on a page. It's like you could write on a Notion page and it will literally turn that into an like that text. And so you could do that. I've heard some people saying it's kind of clunky. The other thing you could do is use an app like Notability, which has the best pen smoothing and writing algorithm for tablet and stylus that I've ever used personally. And then you could export your notes from Notability to Notion. At some point in the future, when I get some time, I'll look into like an automated export import solution. We don't have one quite yet. But that it is something you could do and you could manually export those PDFs. But yeah, Notion doesn't have like built-in handwriting stuff quite yet. So maybe in the future, it doesn't seem like something that's a super big priority for them, given that they're more and more focusing on Teams. But I think there could be some external solutions. So what I will probably do is keep pushing the API team for more capabilities. And maybe this is even something that like could integrate with Flylighter down the road. It's like one thing we're going to build into Flylighter is the ability to connect up your Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox. And this will allow you to capture images from web pages to those cloud destinations that you control, and then embed those into Notion because, you could hot link, you could just like embed the image link from a page, but if it goes away, then it goes away in Notion too. So the ability to have those images uploaded to Google Drive or whatever it is would be safer and better for data integrity over time. Maybe there's some sort of handwriting app that could upload to Google Drive. I don't know. We'll look into it, but really cool idea. Let's see here. Why did you decide to move the dividers and the color backgrounds in your UB template? The reason there is I just wanted a more minimalist look. When I built the original version of Ultimate Brain, it was kind of an expression of, or kind of like a continuation of what I had done with Ultimate Tasks and some other templates. Eventually, it got a little bit overwhelming in terms of design. So, and a lot of people wanted a more minimalist design. I had actually changed my own copy to a minimalist design, liked it better. So I decided, let's do that for the new versions. And again, it's just one of those things where that's the design of the template, but once you get it, you can redesign it to your heart's content. Yeah. And one person's asking me, have I tried Obsidian? I have tried Obsidian, and I think Obsidian is getting really, really good. I tried it way back in the day when it had the split markdown, like edit view and live view. Now that it has the full like live edit view where you can actually see your formatting, I think it's really good. It's not so good for collaboration. So a lot of times, like I'm working on projects or even like video script drafts and I'm sharing them with my team. And Notion's amazing for that. Obsidian's not so good for that. But I do think it's really good. And for personal note-taking, personal note management, it is a great contender. Okay. I think my voice is about to give out. So I'm probably going to end the stream in a couple of seconds here. I don't see any more questions. Thank you again for hanging out. Hopefully you found this stream useful. We'll have the replay live on the channel as soon as I can possibly get there. I'll put it in my next newsletter as well. And yeah, enjoy your new note-taking system if you followed along with this. And if you didn't, enjoy it. If you just go get the free template, you'll be able to enjoy it as well. All right, y'all. I will see you in the next stream. Make sure you hop on the newsletter so you get notified when I do schedule new streams.